the doctor. I said, I'm feeling kinda rough. Let me break it to you, son. Your shit's fucked up. I said, my shit's fucked up. Well, I don't see how.
Bromley, hello, Michael.
He said the shit that you
Hi, Nick. Thanks for letting us on.
Michael.
Hello.
Yes,
Nick?
sir.
Yeah, I'm just ringing up in regard of Gibraltar, and the guy's stating that they're not really sort of liking it, the EU stating that Gibraltar is part of a British colony.
What?
I'm ringing up regarding the Gibraltar.
Yes. I got that bit. What was the rest of it?
Basically, that Nigel Farage and co. Basically, they're not really happy that the EU stating that Gibraltar is part of a British colony.
Apparently.
Yeah, but I personally think that as a person who is, as I say, patriotic, I'm quite proud of our British colonies personally. We have a lot of power that our colonies give us worldwide, especially with places like Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Guernsey,
Really?
Jersey,
Power?
Gibraltar.
Apart from them being tax havens, what power comes with them flying the British flag?
Because we have a lot of these as colonies, this gives us a control over the global financial services. That's why the UK's biggest income is financial services.
It's not why our biggest income is financial services.
It's part of the reason. It is part of the reason.
Not really.
It is. Well, it is because 40% of the global market share financial services is held by United Kingdom and the British colonies, because when a lot of the money is in Cayman Islands, it goes all the way through London. It does. And I used to work up the city, I did, Nick, and I could basically state that the world has their money in British colonies, and it does run a lot through London. Because they do trust our city, we have a good tax structure, and we have a very, very good justice system.
Right, so what you're saying is that we wash the stolen funds for the international criminal super rich.
Well, no, it's not just stolen. It's pension funds, it's European funds, it's big companies. Apple is based in Jersey, its headquarters. And we have 93% of the world's hedge funds is based in Cayman Islands.
Yeah, well, what good is it? What good is it doing us, Michael? All those riches just sit on computer screens in empty offices, in empty office blocks, where hundreds of thousands of companies
who manages
also have their businesses.
Yes, but who manages money and who banks this money? British banks. And it's a lot of UK financial services. Lloyd's of London. Gibraltar holds a lot of UK betting companies because they have the valuable and the advantage of what Gibraltar offers them. It's not just banking, it is many other sectors. Insurance is a big sector as well. So what this does, Nick, is because all of this runs from London, if you want to put your money in Cayman Islands and you want to go invest into America, you'll go possibly, if you're from Asia or you're from India...
You're defending the indefensible. Michael, you're defending the indefensible. I mean, you might as well say that we hijack people on the high seas and take all their money.
Well, no.
Essentially, that is exactly what you're doing. By running tax havens, that is precisely what we're doing.
Well, where else would it go? It's given us 60% of our income. If you take that away from us, if we were to lose that tomorrow, Nick, we would lose a large part of our economy because the trickle-down economics... Oh, please, there's
no such thing as trickle-down economics. What are you talking about?
Well, look at all the people in London and their income, and if you go to the Canary Wharf, I know it doesn't trickle down to the rest of the UK.
Exactly. Well, so what do you mean by trickle down?
That comes down to the government, that does. When the government have paid 1.6 trillion in failed investments in the past 10 years, that's because there's a lot of money that's going out. Like, housing market, that is one socialist industry in the UK. A lot of it comes from the government and goes into shareholders' pocket. It does. So a lot of this money does trickle down, but the government...
Again, there's no such thing as trickle-down economics.
Well, let's say, for example, a millionaire comes over here, spends £1 million on a business. Where does that money go? Where does that money trickle down into, Nick? Employers, tax, distribution, services. This all goes into the system and into people. This is economics, Nick. This is.
No,
and
this is fantasy. Allowing the super rich to get away without paying taxes in the expectation that some of that fortune is going to trickle down over our expectant upturned faces is fantasy land. There's nowhere on earth has that ever happened.
Well, how come? Do you reckon that 60% of the UK's financial services, part of our GDP, all comes from the United Kingdom, Nick? No. Look at the London Clearing House. We clear more euros than Europe does itself. We raise 60%, London raises 60% of all investments into Europe because people want the tax advantage of London, the justice system of London, the stock exchange, the Barclays Bank.
Yeah, none of which they're actually paying for. When you avoid paying tax, you are basically riding on the backs of those poor dopes of us, and I assume you are one of them, who actually do pay tax.
Yes. Well, we can't really say that they don't really pay tax.
Yeah, you can. You actually can say that. If you, as a corporation, you're making billions. If you, as a corporation, you're making billions and billions and billions of pounds, and yet your tax bill is zero. In fact, it's worse than that. We owe them money, as is the case with a lot of these IT companies. Then how is that not riding on the back of the poor, penurious public that actually do pay taxes?
Well, regarding the UK, yes, I understand that there is a sort of bad tax structure, but what they must do with the UK is that if you compare that to the world, we are very low in comparative to tax. And what it does to the UK...
Back up, what did you say? Wait, what? If you could pay that to the world...
the UK tax system, it is very low comparative to the world. It is corporate tax. A lot of schemes do.
What do you mean what do you mean it's very low?
Well, why do people put their money in the UK, for example, and invest into Europe? Because they got a better tax system. They got and they got the guarantee.
Well, when you say better, you mean they're more able to get away without paying their tax. Which does no favours for us at all. Again, you're defending the indefensible.
Well, look at else of our economy, Nick. What else do we produce or manufacture? Let's forget financial services.
Cars.
60%. Cars. Okay, why are car companies here?
Why are car companies here? Tax.
And a single market and other reasons.
Yeah, other reasons.
Yeah, okay, so then what else other than cars? What else do we produce? What do we manufacture? I love my country, Nick, but we don't produce or manufacture nothing no more.
Yes, we do.
What do we produce or manufacture?
I just said cars. We produce weapons. We produce airplane parts. We produce machinery and all sorts of things we export.
Yeah, but that's based on other companies coming here. Is that correct?
Well, so's our financial services.
Yes, exactly, same thing, and that's why, because
it's not the same thing. Manufacturers actually make something. Financial corporations just move numbers around on a screen.
Yes,
they make nothing.
As a country, we don't produce or manufacture nothing no more.
Yeah, stop saying that. Yes, we do. I refer you to the answer I gave some moments ago. Struth, you're all over the shop, Michael. You used to work in the city. In what capacity? I hesitate to ask. Car park attendant. You weren't in charge with in charge of anybody's money, were you, Michael?
Well, as I must say, I was a prop trader, so not really anyone's, more the institute that I work for. But
right, okay, so you're just moving numbers around on a screen. The financial finagling racket. You know, when people start defending tax havens, it just really rubs me up the wrong way. That's what's wrong with the world, and we are preeminent in that. You cannot defend it. And I know that people will be ready to pick the phone up and call me to say that this is the politics of envy. Useful idiots, I think Stalin called them. Here's Colin Bristol. Hello, Chris.
Hi there.
Hello there.
Yes, I phoned up because I got a leaflet through my door, and I'm very confused.
Yeah, well, you sound it.
Well, I don't know if I take that as a compliment or not, but anyway.
No, don't.
It said 60%, no, not 60, sorry, 62% of people in Bristol, in Bristol South, want a people's vote on Brexit. Make Sure MP opposes their Brexit with an arrow pointing to Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Who?
Jacob Rees-Mogg, not Moss. And, right, it goes on to say why Bristol South needs to be given a say on Brexit.
You've had a say on Brexit already.
I know I have, and I voted Leave, and I don't really want another say on Brexit, because I've already had one. I had a say on AV. I voted in favour of AV, and I lost, and I'm not crying about it. Now, it goes on to say, what can I do?
But why don't you want a second referendum about the deal that we may or may not get? Because that would be too much democracy?
No, it wouldn't be too much democracy, for the simple reason is I voted Leave, and there was no small print.
No, exactly. So everybody made up their own idea about what leave meant. I mean, leave means leave is a completely meaningless statement. Leave means leave under what circumstances?
Exactly. If they put...
wait a minute, you're agreeing with me?
Well, if
you do want a second referendum?
No, I don't want a second referendum, because...
A what?
Because there was no small print. If there was small print saying, oh yes, okay, vote Leave and your Leave vote will count, but only if we get a deal, well then I'd be like, well, if we don't get a deal, well then my vote for Leave didn't really count. But there was no only if we get a deal small print.
No, exactly. So you do want a second referendum with the small print.
No, I don't want a second referendum with a small print.
But you're complaining about... Wait a minute. You're complaining about the first one didn't have the small print, as you put it, the whys and the wherefores, the how are we going to do this, the details. So you're whining about that. Well, not whining. That's not entirely accurate.
Stop whining.
You're whinging, whining, and complaining.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Moaning, not complaining. But you don't want to go again because... your argument doesn't really make sense to me, but then it fits right in on this show. Nothing does.
Well, no, my argument is there was no small print.
Yeah, I know you keep saying
and
that.
And I voted for it.
But you didn't want one. You didn't want any detail.
I didn't want any detail.
Right, so well, that implies that you didn't want to know what it was you were voting for, because it wasn't specified.
I was voting for Leave.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
It means Leave.
Yeah, but does that mean leave with a deal, or mean with leave with no deal? Does it mean to leave with and be part of the customs union? Does it mean leave and never speak to anybody in Europe again? Does it mean to deny their existence? Does it mean to start a war? Maybe we should start a war.
I'm not saying I voted for drop nuclear bombs on Europe.
But wait, we don't know that. Because there was no detail.
I'm about to tell you. It means leave the European Union.
Right, but we can't assume from your vote that that's what you meant, because that was not an option.
Leave was an option on the ballot.
No,
paper.
leave was an option, but not what kind of leave, Chris.
Leave was on the ballot paper, and leave means leave.
No, but that's a meaningless statement. You might as well just be reading the side of a bus. Leave means leave doesn't mean anything at all. What kind of...
Okay, and what does remain mean?
Well, remain is obvious in its meaning, because remain is just let's continue as was. But leave has a multiplicity of different avenues we could go down.
Remain also does.
No, it doesn't. Remain is just let's leave everything alone. Well, okay, give me two different options of remain.
Opt out from Schengen, opt out from the EU.
Yeah, but those are leave options.
No.
Well, opting out of the EU is leaving. That's what that means.
No, you're trying to confuse me now. You're having a bit of fun with me. Come on now.
A little bit, but I'm not confusing you, Chris. You arrived in that state. Yes.
Leave me be. Okay, can I get on with what I was going to say now, please?
Well, that wasn't what you were going to say.
This is what I'm going to say.
That was the preamble. Oh, that was the starter. Here comes the main course. Go ahead.
Okay, right. What I was saying to your researcher, is that it said on the leaflet I got through my letterbox, it says, what can I do? Because 62% of the people in Bristol want a people's vote on the Brexit. What can I do?
Chris.
What you can do is you can write to Karen Smith MP and tell her not to vote for this deal in your name at www.
Chris?
Yeah?
Why are you singing this?
Sorry. I'm just trying to get through it quickly for you, so I know your time is short.
Quickly? Holy this is you quick, is it?
Well, I'm sorry, am I being slow?
A little bit slow, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for quick, this is really slow. Can you sing faster?
Okay. Yes, you can go to www.
Yeah, okay. Well, you don't need to tell us what the website is.
Demandpeoplesvote.vote.
Yeah, you don't need to tell us what the website is.
And I'm told your researcher, if you go there, what will come up is an official-looking website, and then on my computer, my security software said to me, warning, suspicious site.
Warning, suspicious site.
Warning, warning.
Well, don't go there then, Chris.
Well, it's too late, I already have.
Okay. Well, then that explains a lot of the questions that probably a lot of people have been having ever since you came onto this show, Chris. You've been infected with a virus.
Well, not yet, because I haven't done anything else. It says, McAfee tested this site and found files that contain viruses, spyware, or other
Well, it sounds to me like you personally have been infected with a virus, Chris. Have you tried turning yourself off and on again?
All I want to do is say to your listeners out there, I'm sure it's not intentional. I'm sure it's a mistake on their half. If you've been given this leaflet as directing you to that website,
don't go.
Be very careful. Be very careful. Do not click the visit anyway button, because McAfee making a warning.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks for the warning, Chris.
Well, all I can say is, I'm trying to do my best to help people.
Yeah, this is you trying to help. Okay, excellent work. Thanks a lot, mate. Norwich. Hello, Toby.
Hello, good evening, Nick.
Toby.
Hello.
Yes, Toby.
Yes, I'd like to respond.
Please speak directly into the phone.
I am.
That's better.
I'd like to respond to a statement you made earlier about people that actually voted to leave willfully ignorant.
Well, all of us... No, I think I was more general than that. I said all of us. All of us are willfully ignorant. Nobody's taken on any fact of any kind whatsoever in the intervening period. That's true, isn't it, Toby?
Well, yes, I would like to make my own statement. But basically... All the politicians, including the Prime Minister, are keeping going on about they want to respect the will of the people and they want to respect the result of the referendum. And the only way that I can personally see, and a lot of other people can see, to respect that result is to have a no deal and start from scratch.
Why?
Well, people voted to leave. There wasn't. The question was, do we leave or do we stay?
Yes.
The question wasn't, do we leave half or do we stay half? It was, do we leave or do we stay?
Yeah, but why does that have to be no deal if it would be ruinous to the economy?
Well, I believe that there'll be harder times in the short term? Of course.
Well, what's the short term? What's the short term?
Well, the initial period, maybe.
But what is that?
Maybe 1 year.
A year. 1 year. We can turn it around in 1 year. Really?
I said maybe 1 or 5 years.
Oh well, now we're up to 5.
But obviously, I do believe the nation is strong enough to bounce back, like it has bounced back.
And what gives you that idea?
Well, your favourite subject, history.
History? Well, we used to have an empire. Have we bounced back from losing that?
Well, no, but if we talk about the empire,
that's a dead cat bounce, that, Toby.
At one point in time, the British Empire, I think, was 2/3 of the entire landmass.
Yeah. Well, I'll not quibble with fractions, but go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously...
So how have we bounced back from that?
Progress.
Is that the answer to my question?
Well, I believe it's just national progress.
Well, I don't know what that means. Do you?
Well, evolution then.
Are these some of the facts that you've learned in the intervening period? Is this what you're regaling me with? Some of the information that you've taken on board?
Obviously, I'm not a politician. I don't say I am. I'm just voicing a personal opinion, which I believe it is voiced by quite a few people. By
you? You're representing yourself, Toby.
Yes, I agree with that then. But whether the vote was won by one person or a million people, but basically the Leave side won. Let's say whether it got one extra more vote or a million, it's still voted to leave, and that's the will of the people.
Now we know a lot more, or some of us know a lot more than we did then. We have apparently decided that we would prefer to stay. I mean, the majority of the people in any poll that you'd care to look at over the past at least 6 months or a year suggests that most people in this country now would prefer to stay. So what do you say to that?
Well, if there was another second referendum, I believe personally that it would make a mockery of the voting process in
Dude, are you paying attention? It is a mockery.
But if we had a second one and it went the other way, then obviously people would want a third one and a fourth one and a fifth one.
Well, not necessarily. You could have you could honour the skewed result that we had, and I believe it was skewed by the Russians to the point that the government knows that it was, and it's so embarrassed about it, it won't know what to do about it, to the extent that it refuses to even countenance looking at it. It won't even investigate, which is a catastrophe for this country, really. The Russians interfered with the future of this country for their own ends, and we won't do anything about it. I mean, what does it take for them to actually come onto our soil and kill people?
Is there any hard physical evidence?
Yes, there is, Toby. Yes, there is. But it's pointless to telling you about it because you will refuse to believe it. So, why bother? You think that the situation we have at the moment is not a mockery. The government's at war with itself. The country's stockpiling food and medicine. The army's on standby to intervene. And ministers are openly fighting with each other. The Tory party's about to split in half. It's going very well.
Like I said, I do expect harder times at the start, right. Obviously.
Yeah. For 1, 5, 10? Should we say 20 years?
No, I don't. Well, I'm not an economist.
No, so you're just guessing. Yeah, you're just making it up. It's wishing that things are going to be okay, and assuming that because you wish for something, it actually will happen. Yes, I'm trying to connect a bloke in Derby. Dave.
How are we doing?
Well, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad.
Okay, then we're doing great.
Good. Well, a quick one for this James Dyson.
Oh, yes.
I mean, why would it matter if he's outsourced to India? Companies have been doing that for decades now. and it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference if we stayed in the EU or not. It's India. It's outside the EU.
Yes, but
Same with
shifting.
Singapore.
Yes, but yeah, exactly. Shifting your tax base from this country to Singapore would matter a very great deal indeed if you're making over.
Well, maybe if the UK government changed the tax rate here, more companies would relocate from overseas and come back here.
Yeah, I'm sure that if we took our corporate tax rate to zero, there would be no end of companies who would like to come over here. Wouldn't that be great?
Well, yeah.
No, it wouldn't. Not if you like money, it wouldn't.
Well, that's the UK. That's the international competition, isn't it? You know, companies will go anywhere else to pay less tax, and it doesn't matter if you're in the EU or not, or if we've left or not.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making by mentioning that is that he's a chief Brexiteer, so it's a little bit ironic and embarrassing that he would be.
Well, he's just a good businessman. He wants to save money, and they're all doing it. But it's got nothing to do with Brexit or not. If we're leaving or staying in the EU,
well, they are not all doing it, Dave, because otherwise we wouldn't have any money for the NHS or the police or the army or to fix the roads or to put the street lights on or any of those things. They are not all doing it.
Well, we don't have that money anyway. That's why there's so many redundancies.
What?
45,000 defence personnel in the last 6 years been made redundant.
Yes.
Or 20,000 police.
And are you connecting the dots? Why might that be so? It's because corporations.
Austerity.
No, that's not austerity. Austerity.
Well, that is austerity. That's why the government's cut back on all the spending instead of investing.
Yes, but but it doesn't start with austerity. It starts with corporations not paying their taxes. That's why we have austerity. Austerity is because of a shortage in tax receipts, Dave. Obviously.
Not just.
Yes, it is. If corporations that run coffee shops and corporations that run internet package buying stuff places, what are they called? Internet retailers. That's it, retailers. The buying stuff places. If corporations like that actually paid their blooming tax, then we wouldn't have austerity for the last 10 years.
Well, I've got one for you. Why would a country which hasn't got a life expectancy manage its national debt like personal debt of 60 years? And that's what our government, the Tories and the Lib Dems, and now the Tories, have done. National debt, a country, how old's our country now? Couple of 100 years? 1,000 years,
Yeah,
why is the country managing its debt as personal debt of, I'd say, 60 years? It's not feasible.
I don't know what you're talking about. Can you put it another way? Because I genuinely don't understand what you just said.
The deficit. The good example, and under Labour, albeit, the deficit was coming down in retrospect. If you looked at it from when they were in office to when they were about to leave.
Under Tony Blair, yes.
Yes. And Labour was investing. There wasn't austerity with Labour. They had the choice to go austerity or not. And they didn't.
The reason we got austerity is we had to bail out the banks. Our national debt doubled when we had to bail out the banks. The evil banking racket has plunged us into
one of our biggest industries at the time, should I say?
Yeah, well, it still is. Yeah, it's not really doing as much good, is it?
And that's why certain people in the service sector, such as Dyson, are moving to India because
Dyson is not in the.
Has done that for
he's not in the service sector. He's in the manufacturing sector.
Well, manufacturing then. It's like, why don't we outsource to China? Plenty of people have done that over the last couple of years.
Wait a minute. Are you defending it, or are you just telling me that it happens?
Well, it's good business sense because you.
It's good business sense to kill all of your competition, but that's not recommended. It's not the moral thing to do.
I mean, if wages, albeit you look at the wage over here in the UK and you look at the wage over in India and China, and to make good business sense, which would you pick? Albeit, we can be patriotic and one thing and another, but if you're running a business...
Well, I tell you what makes good business sense is having slaves and not paying them anything.
Well, plenty of slave labour in UK prisons paying people a pound a day.
Well, that's not really. That's not slave labour, Dave.
Well, it's state slavery. It's one way of cutting labour costs for UK companies.
That's such a tiny part of the economy. It's not even worth mentioning.
85,000 and growing.
Well, what are they doing?
All sorts.
Sewing mail bags together.
No, anything from lobster pots at North Sea Camp for the fishing industry to toilet accessories.
Okay, well that's called being in jail. It's called paying your debt to society. What on earth has it got to do with what we're talking about?
Well, it's cheap labour, isn't it? We were saying.
Right. So you want us all in prison for the benefit of the profitability of corporations? Oh. You're all over the shop, Dave. Really. How can you possibly defend a company that makes £1 billion a year and is shifting its tax base out of the country that made that company? Because let's not. People who have made it, millionaires and billionaires, like to kid on that they only got there because of their unique genius and perspicacity. And mostly people get to a position of success through luck. Let's have Berry. Hello, Peter.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I had a dream that I'm going to win the lottery. Well, it didn't happen. Never mind. Oh. But I just got on with it again.
Yes,
you just get on with life. Mm-hmm. You ever feel like you're mind controlled, Nick? You know, like, to take yourself back to 2016 when we had to put that X in the box.
Yeah.
And you was all mind controlled by the £350 million of the buzz. But I couldn't remember seeing on the buzz where it said, we'll give it to the NHS. I didn't see that bit, unless it was in small print.
But it did, though.
No, I didn't think it did. But I'll have to look at it again tomorrow when I get the internet up. Thing is, my father said it was brilliant that after the war, we all got together and got on with it again. Oh, we had to rebuild the railways. We had to rebuild the schools, the hospitals. We had to rebuild villages and some towns.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that now, my dad says. My dad's 92. He's still alive. He was an ex-tank driver. He said, we don't have to do that anymore. We just have to believe. We have to believe in ourselves that we can do it. Just like the man who gets divorced, and he gets kicked out because he's been adulterizing with the woman next door. But she don't want to know him anymore because the secret's out. So he has to leave with his car keys in his car and a change of underwear and maybe £1,000 that his wife's given him, and he's got to get on with it. And he does get on with it because he has nowhere else to go apart from putting his head in a noose and hanging himself.
Wow, that took a nasty turn right at the end there.
Well, it's true in some cases because I've met these people who've been near to the edge, haven't they? The thing is, they've had to get on with themselves because of the sake of the children that the wife has kept. And I agree in a certain case what Nick Ferrari said, actually, on Question Time on Thursday. He said, so what does it have to be after 2 years of trying to get away from a divorce that now I have to go back and live with my wife again? I thought, that's exactly... when you think about it, get the parable out of the way, it's quite true. Well, they want us now. Yeah. The thing is, another thing there, you've got to spot this yourself, it's great democracy, isn't it? And until when democracy realises that the people are catching up with it, and, well, we don't want to know it, though, because we're losing control. The EU Commission, you cannot vote out. Simple as that. So
well, you can't vote the Queen out. I mean, I don't see what.
Oh, come on. No, that's gone years ago when James came back in again. So let's look at when James II came back on the throne. When Oliver Cromwell died.
Can I just pause you there? Maybe it's just me, but we've been talking for a good long while, and I don't actually know what point it is you're making.
I'm trying to put a point that we should not go down to fear. Project Fear is winning constantly. It's the sheeple.
Oh, right, okay. So the businesses who are saying that we are so concerned that we have either already made moves to move some or all of our business out of the UK, that's just Project Fear.
Well, I remember 20 years ago in where I lived, there was a Dutch firm who bought a paint manufacturers. And they said, they run it for the year two. They said, we're going to move production now to our base in Hull.
Yeah.
So they did that. So about 1,000 people lost their jobs in the town where I live. And then after about 5 years in Hull, they moved it all to Holland.
Yeah.
This is the situation with foreign companies coming in buying British firms. And I'm not going to be hypocritical about this, because British people companies go and buy foreign companies.
Right, well, again, you're kind of losing me, Peter. Hang on a minute. What is your answer? The companies that said that they're going to leave, is that just are they just making it up?
Well, propaganda is fear. They want us to stay in.
So yes, then. So yes, they are making it up.
Yeah.
How about the companies that have already moved? Are they just kidding?
Isn't their prerogative to do what they want with the company that they own?
Well, yes, of course. But if they've only moved because we're leaving the EU, and if we are going to be negatively affected by that move, then surely that's something that.
James Dyson has Dysoned everybody out in this country. Virtually nearly 1 in 2 people own a Dyson. So
that's completely untrue.
All
1 in 2 people in this country own a Dyson. What are you talking about? Where are you getting these facts, Peter? You're just making them up. Oh, God, here we go with the made-up facts again. I can't stand it. Crystal Palace. Hello, Jack.
Oh, hello, Jack. Sorry. Oh, hello, Nick. I wanted to ask, are you related to Ross Abbott by any chance?
I wish I was.
You know, the comedian? No? Okay. What it was about was...
Are you related to Jack Sparrow by any chance?
Yeah, remotely.
Right.
Yeah, we wing it when we have to. You know what I mean?
No.
It's what's in remain and leave. I mean, remain. What does remain mean? Would you say? Trying to define it. What people mean by it. What does if the referendum, the result had been remain? What does remain mean? It means to stay in. So leave means to be out. As simple as that. In and out. Remain means in, leave means out. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? You think?
Well, what is the point you're making, Jack?
Well, the point is, if we can't agree on very
it's like
basic...
a speaking dictionary on the phone.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, if we can't agree on very simple, basic language, then how can people communicate? There's no agreement, and it just degenerates into shouting matches of people showing no respect to each other and no respect for the language. It's just, and people that try to exploit, things to their advantage, in the face of common sense. Like, what does the word mean? In, leave is out, and remain is in. And the referendum. It was not what they call it. It wasn't subject to a deal. It was quite clear. Remain or leave. So I think hopefully that will sort of, clarify things. But to go on to...
No, it doesn't clarify anything. What are you even hearing yourself? What are you talking about, man?
Well, this is it.
Leave means leave, but what kind of leave is what we're discussing now?
No, leave means out.
Yes, but what kind of out do we want?
What out is out.
No, it isn't. Oh my God! Have you paid attention at all? Have you been in a coma for 3 years?
I'm listening very closely. You go in front of a judge or a policeman comes to a property, and I told this guy to leave, and he says to you, "Well, what do you mean by leave?" Or the villain says, "What do you mean? But could you clarify? Could you define?"
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, Jack, because this is one of the most asinine conversations I've had in the 3 years that we've been discussing this, and that is a packed list. I've got to tell you, you are right there at the top. I'll say you're number 7 with a bullet. Martin in Farnham. Martin.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Great, mate.
Yeah, well, I think that the rest of the world seems to be doing pretty well outside of the EU.
Are they?
Now, I've lived here for 15 years, and I'm moving back to Australia in a few months.
Oh, no, don't go.
Well, I've given the UK a good go. I'm British now. But the salaries are bigger. There's fewer people. They've got tough immigration laws. And... Australia's doing better than Britain, and it still trades with the EU, but it doesn't have, Brussels making its laws. So I think that's if Australia can do it, why not Britain?
Ah, yes. Okay. So which laws are you particularly chafing against?
Well, for one, who's allowed to stay in your country? Like when there's a criminal in Australia, it's an Australian judge in an Australian court that decides whether they get deported or not. Whereas in the UK, it's a Brussels judge.
No, that's not true, but that's completely untrue. We can make our own decisions about who it is that stays and who it is goes. Particularly, we can make our decisions about who from outside of the EU stays and goes. And we seem to allow more, well, not seem to, we do allow more people from outside the EU to come in than from inside the EU.
But the European Court of Human Rights, that's not a British court, that's a Brussels court.
No, the European Court of Human Rights has got nothing to do with the EU.
Well, then why is it called the European Court if it's got nothing to do with the EU?
Well, there's lots of... there's the Eurovision Song Contest that doesn't have anything to do with the EU either.
Well, that's right. So the point is that...
Which, by the way, I think Australia are allowed to enter. How the hell is that even legal?
Because Europe's lost the plot. It's quite simple, you know. Britain,
well, I don't think Australia being able to enter the Eurovision Song Contest has anything to do with the Donald Tusk. I don't think that he is responsible.
Well, Tusk is upset because Britain is the second largest donor in the EU. He's worried because who's going to pay his pensions? Germany's in recession. The French are rioting.
Well, Germany is not. Germany are not in recession. There are some people in France who are rioting, but then there's some people in Britain who are stabbing each other. Does that have anything to do with the EU?
Well,
not everything that bad that happens in Europe has anything to do with Donald Tusk.
Well, he's upset because Britain is
and people in this country aren't upset. People in this country are so upset, Martin. You're leaving. You're leaving to go to a country that you couldn't go further away if then you'd have to leave the planet to get further away than Australia.
Because I'm poor. I taught for 10 years. I've not had a pay rise for 10 years.
Right.
I go to Australia.
Has that got something to do with the European Union? Is that their fault too?
Of course it does. Yes, of course it does.
If you didn't get a pay rise for 10 years and it's the European Union's fault.
Everything's interlinked, Nick. Why have I got 8 Polish people living next door to me? And why do my neighbours that are British have a mother that's 60 and 2 sons in their mid-30s living at home? Because there's not enough housing. Why isn't there enough housing?
Yes, why isn't there enough housing?
What? Well,
go on.
Britain has an open border with half a billion people.
Wrong. Britain does not have enough housing because successive governments have not built enough houses since the Second World War.
And whose job is it to build houses?
Well, it is the job of the government to build houses that are rented for council tenants, and it is the government's job to okay developments in the places where NIMBYs would raise an objection, and it's the government's job to provide housing and shelter for its citizens.
And where does the government get its money from?
The citizens.
Right, so what you're saying is that British citizens should be paying. So my neighbour, who's worked her whole life and paid taxes her whole life, should be building a house for the 8 Polish people to live in. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because that's the government, isn't it? If the government is going to build a house, it's the taxpayers, it's my British neighbour that should be building a house for the 8 Polish people next door. And by the way, Nick, I'm Polish as well, and my partner's Polish, and we're both British, so there's no element of racism here. It's just a question.
Well, it sounds a lot like it.
Well, how can I be racist against my own family? You still haven't answered
I don't know. You seem to have found a way.
I can't be. Well, I can't be, Nick. And what you've pretty much said is that my neighbour that's British should be building a house for the 8 Polish people next door. It doesn't make any sense.
No, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. If Polish people have come here and have contributed more to the economy.
But they haven't, because they're on minimum wage, Nick. They're earning £8 an hour. How much are they paying in tax?
I'm not talking about the people who happen to live next to you. I'm talking about the bigger picture. I don't know the people who live next to you. I'm not qualified to talk about the people that live next to you. I don't know where you live or who they are.
In Farnham. I live in Farnham on a housing estate, on a council estate.
Well, congratulations. Then you're among the luckiest people that have ever lived.
People in Poland, my family's in Poland, average salary is £20 a day. Somebody washing cars on minimum wage isn't contributing.
Listen, Martin, if you're going back to Australia to be surrounded by fewer foreigners, then I've got bad news for you. But you give us a call when you get there. Oh. Red Hill. Hello, Vivian.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
So, I've, been listening to your show. I'd like to address your concerns about us leaving the European Union.
Well, I'm glad you called.
Well, so what are your main concerns?
Away. What are my main concerns?
I'll jump in on food security if you like.
Go on, then.
Okay, food security. Okay, so from what I understand, so we leave the European Union and the common market. We take our economy. We take our economy.
We leave the
we
what
take our
now?
Economy. We leave the common market.
Yes.
The European trade bloc, European Union
Yeah,
trade bloc.
whatever it's called. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is.
Leave the common market. We leave the common market.
Wait a minute. Can I just establish
Go ahead.
that you are speaking from what you understand?
From what I understand, yeah.
Mhm.
From what I understand.
Carry
we
on.
leave the European Union, the common market.
Exactly.
Huh? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We take our economy out of that trade bloc.
We take
and
our
we bring our economy out of that trade bloc.
Yes.
Of that trade bloc.
Yes.
And then we take that economy and we put it into the free market economy.
Ah, well, now you're talking.
Okay. Yeah, we're on the same page. Please tell me we are.
Vivian, we're not even on the same book.
Okay then. Well, we'll go from where I started. We've come out of the common market. We're in the free market. We've taken our economy out into the free market.
Right.
That economy is worth a certain value. Has a certain value. It's a certain. What you tell me how much trade we do with the European Union?
6.
Okay, you do that. Okay, we do 6 trade with the European Union. That economy now goes out of that trade bloc. Okay, and into the free market. That's 6 in the free market.
Wow. Well,
Right.
that makes it sound much better.
So what is the problem there? If the European Union want to trade with the UK in that free market,
yeah,
okay, then that doesn't bind us to their joint economic, trade, cultural, technology.
Yeah, I think joint may be the operative word there.
Want to score some pot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we understand what we're saying here.
Well,
okay.
I don't believe anybody understands what you're saying, Vivian. Not one single person listening to this show right now understands what, including yourself.
No, I understand what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I was wrong about that.
Okay. So we've taken our economy out. It's now available to countries that are no longer in that economy.
Now, can I
Iran,
just say, is
China,
it all 6?
Russia. All 6 can reduce our current. All 6 can raise objection to our current trade schedule that we've levied with the World Trade Organization.
And this
other
is
other economies.
And you're saying
can
this
dive in on that
based on
economies
what you
can
understand.
dive in on that. Well, from
what I
basic
understand.
mathematics.
I know. It is just basic maths.
Deductive reasoning, surely. Are we not talking the same language here?
No.
So what country wouldn't want to sell us? What is it you're afraid of? Brussels sprouts. What country can't grow Brussels sprouts that we can't trade with?
What country cannot grow Brussels sprouts?
And what country you're afraid of security of food? I think that underestimates the value of British farming. For one, I think the British farming's been rather damaged by its influence by the European Union.
In what way?
Okay. Well, I'd say it's been taken over by companies away from private farmers. Okay, there's a lot of European Union policy, okay, which raises regulation standards that prices out, the private farmer and forces them to join larger companies in order to meet these regulations, etc.
Right. So it's the evil European overlords who have forced farmers to accept.
That's one issue for farming.
Giant sums
food
of money
security,
from
energy.
companies
You're worried
that
about
have
energy
bought
security.
Farms.
Okay, what are you worried about with energy security?
Is this another field of your expertise, energy security?
This is something you've raised on your show. You're worried about not having energy. We have French companies with their nuclear power stations on our country.
Please soothe my furrowed brow,
European Union, a nuclear power station run by a foreign country in our country.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We wouldn't want that.
Not
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, well, so at the end of the day, you're worried about energy security. We're buying our energy through this company anyway. We're not buying English energy. This is energy that we don't have any control of. What's happening at that power station, okay, now affects other places in Wales, okay, because it's being managed from outside of our country, okay, with interests that are outside of, in a greater good rather than in individual countries' best interest, yeah?
Well, you're making a lot of sense, Vivian.
Please, I thank you, applaud you for saying so. Okay, and I would like to go further into any subject you have worry about with leaving the European Union. Anytime, of course.
Anytime, any place, anywhere.
Well, yeah, of course. You're a really great show. I really enjoy it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vivian. I enjoy your show too. Did that make any sense?
No.
I don't think so. Let's hope so. Hackney. Hello, James.
You are? How you doing?
Yes, good, thanks.
basically, I feel like you've been almost saying that us Brexiteers, are almost like.
Please speak directly into the phone.
Yeah, I'm talking, mate. It's basically you think as though we don't know what we're doing, as if we don't know what we voted for. It's not the case, mate. I feel like the overall consensus in the media is like, oh, we're done with Scooby. We ain't got Scooby Doo, and it isn't really the case. The sooner we leave, the better. And I'm telling you, Britain should be better off without it.
Right, but what leads you to that conclusion?
Because we have more control of our borders. How much are we paying those cronies down in the EU? How much are we paying them? So yeah.
Well, I thought that you based your decision on information that you had. You're asking me?
No, but what I'm saying is, right? They're on our payroll, right? Those people down in Brussels, they make decisions that affect our lives, right? Is it your opinion that we have an input into those? What are you doing? What I'm doing, I work right now.
Yeah.
I'm working, mate. I mean, I'm the working class. We've got to work, Work never stops. I don't know about you, but we've got to work,
Well, what do you think I'm doing? You think I just I'm sitting at home giving him my number out? He's working. He doesn't know about me. God. Well, at least you thought about it, James. Keep thinking. It's what you do best. Thamesmead. Hello, Holly.
Hello, Nick.
Holly.
What? Well, I'm intrigued by the conversation tonight because what's making me very cross with people, they seem to think I voted to leave, and I voted for many reasons, and I don't pretend to be an expert, but I used my democratic right, and I wasn't swayed by Nigel Farage's immigration bus, and I wasn't swayed by Boris Johnson's claim about the NHS. I made the decision based on what I felt, and I used my democratic right.
But wait a minute. But how did you come to your decision, though? If you weren't swayed by anybody, then what did you do? Research? Did you do a cost-benefit analysis of leaving the EU? What was it that made you decide if you weren't swayed by anybody?
Well, as I say, my decision as soon as the referendum was announced, so I hadn't, and lots of people I know never swayed either. If I'm honest, it was with my gut and what I felt about how the country had changed while I've been growing up.
So wait a minute. So you want to go back to when you were young?
Not necessarily, but I don't think the country has changed for the better. And
Since when?
Since I've been alive.
Give us a date.
Well, I was born in 1970, so I'm pushing 50.
You don't think that this country has improved since 1970?
But you're putting words in my mouth with respect. What I'm trying to say to you
No, that's just what you said. That's what you just said, isn't it?
No, you asked me and you pinned me down, and obviously I'm trying to get across that people can use the vote, and, we can't have a situation where you're going to say, even for lots of elections, people just vote because they like a particular leader who they might find charismatic. They might even not know anything about the manifesto.
Exactly.
You could argue lots of people vote wrongly, and you could argue maybe I voted wrongly, but ultimately, I'm in good company because if that's the case, more people voted wrongly than others. And ultimately, and I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is I don't insult people who chose to use their democratic right to remain. And there's two very interesting things I find, if I could just mention very, very quickly. One of them, I think this has shown how disillusioned people are with British politics and politicians, because Joe Cox's former constituency, the horrific murder of Joe Cox, now the MP's Tracy Brabin, and apparently that constituency voted 63% to leave, which in a constituency we had that horrendous murder and the guy was supposed to have chanted all that far-right nonsense and all that. That shows a disillusionment that despite that horrific murder, people in that constituency still thought, you know what, we want out. And the other thing I'm really cross about this week, I'm assuming when they say young people, they do mean people who could have had the vote. Now they're saying, they didn't get out and vote. Well, if people over the 18 and up to whatever age they class as young, they should have got off their backsides then, shouldn't they? You can't keep rerunning the horse race till you get the result you want. If I'm on the Grand National, yeah, I want my horse to be last fence 20 lengths ahead. But you know what? If it's not and it's by a nose, I've still won and I'm still paid out.
Okay, but then do they have another Grand National the following year?
Say again, sorry. Say that. I genuinely didn't hear that. Sorry. Say that, Nick, again.
So you have a Grand National and you'd really like to win. Okay, but does that Grand National result stay for all time, or do you have another one the following year?
I'll make you right. I agree with that, but obviously we couldn't have this chaos. And ultimately, I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen. I personally think we will suffer temporarily, but I think we'll be okay.
But you don't know. But that's based on what? Your gut?
It's just based on what I feel.
Yes, exactly. Based on no information of any kind, Holly. Based on a feeling. Oh, my God, the amount of times that I've heard people say that. Oh, everything will be all right. Why? Oh, because I feel it. That's just... Listen to yourself. It's an absolutely ridiculous argument. But that seems to be the argument of the people that are determined to get us out in the strictest Brexit possible. Oh, everything's going to be all right. Why? Oh, I just think that it will. Therefore, it'll be true. Oh, come on, Holly. You can't possibly believe that.
I do. Well, what do you think's going to happen then? You tell me. You predict if you're so much in the know, because I'm intrigued. All these people are chucking out what's going to happen, including me, who's saying, you know, I feel we'll be okay.
You feel? Again, what does that mean? It's meaningless.
Well, it's not.
It absolutely is. Unless you are an economist and you've done the numbers and you've worked through the possible scenarios and you have come to an informed decision, an informed opinion, then saying everything's going to be all right because I feel it will be is just it's pointless even saying that.
No, not well. Then what do you think's going to happen then? Because you seem to think we're going to. I don't know. What do you think then? What do you think is going to happen then?
Well, my assumption would be, along with almost every other economist that has looked at this, and every business person that has looked at this, well, the vast majority of business people and the vast majority of people who run organisations that represent business people, and the NHS and the banking rackets and all upon which we depend, and all of these people say that if we leave without a deal, it will be a disaster. Now, a disaster doesn't mean to say the country will burst into flames and sink. It just means that probably for the rest of our lives, we will be poorer than we would have been. And nobody wants that. And the proof that nobody wants that is the fact that as consumers, we're not interested in anything except price. That's the only thing we care about. And we keep making, as consumers, bad decisions all the time, knowing that they're bad decisions. The ruination of the high street is not Amazon's fault. It's our fault for choosing Amazon over shops whose departure we decry. And we know how to stop that happening. Just don't shop with Amazon anymore and go and buy stuff from M&S and John Lewis and, all the other shops that are in between those two stores. But we don't. And we know that we are at fault, but we keep doing the thing that we are saying is bad because we just want to save 10 pence. So there's not one single person in this country voted to become poorer just because, out of some twisted sense of patriotism. I don't believe it for 1 second. I mean, it's just not true. Durham. Hello, David.
Hello, Nick.
David.
Hello, can you hear us all right?
I can hear you.
Yeah, lovely. I'd like you to imagine a scenario and then answer a question. Would you do that for me, please?
Imagine a world far, far away. Right. Yes.
No. Well, it is for you, actually. Can you imagine that if your gaffer on Monday morning summoned you into his office?
Summoned? I don't like the sound of that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Aye. And he says, Nick, we've got some Polish bloke who's a good presenter. He's just as good as you. He can speak good English.
Yeah.
But he'll do the job for half what we're paying you.
Right.
So sorry, mate, but you're on the door.
Yeah.
And wherever you went, it was the same story.
But what if it was an English person that was as good as me and could do the job at half the price?
I'm talking about Brexit here, though.
Yeah, but you're not. You're talking about one person doing a job at half the price of somebody else. Well, what if it was an English person?
I knew you were going to do something like this. I'm asking you, how would you feel about Brexit if some Polish bloke took your job?
Right, but it has little to do with Brexit. I'm saying, what if you're talking about someone who's more desperate than you? Yes. Yeah. So that person could be British.
I'm just one of these daft Northerners with me flat vowels and me flat cap, and I just don't exist as far as you're concerned, do I?
David, do you really think that life for the poor is going to get better once we're out of the EU? Have you been persuaded to believe that?
I'll tell you where it is. I would probably still have my job if we weren't in Europe.
What was your job?
I used to be a machine operator. I worked in a factory that made parts for the automotive industry.
David, that job will have disappeared by probably Monday morning, and all of the people in that factory will have been replaced by robots.
Correct. Can you answer my question, please, or are you just going to skirt around it? How would you feel about Brexit if some Polish bloke took your job?
I wouldn't associate that problem with Brexit, because another person could have taken my job, and in that particular job that you've just described...
Could have, but just imagine it was a Polish bloke.
Yeah. Well,
how would you feel about Brexit then?
Oh, I wouldn't associate it with Brexit. I refer you to the answer I gave some moments ago.
Right, okay. And I'll tell you where it is. The only trouble that's making Brexit difficult is that people like you came up with things like soft Brexit. That didn't even exist until after the referendum.
Well, neither did hard Brexit. Nobody mentioned either soft or hard before the referendum.
It was just Brexit. It was in or out.
Yes, but it was the type. Yes, David, the type of out had not been discussed, along with many other things like the Irish border and so on.
Yeah, it was just out. That was the choice.
Yes, but your concept of what out was has only become crystallised in the 2 odd years since.
I'll tell you something else.
You gave it not 1 second's worth of thought beforehand.
If you think that the trouble that there's going to be,
please don't promise riots again. Please don't promise riots again, because that is just such a pathetic response.
It's not a pathetic.
It is. It is throwing yourself to the floor in the supermarket because Mummy won't buy you any chocolate. That's exactly what it is. It's a tantrum. It's a baby having a fit. If I don't get my way, a way that I have manufactured and made up since the vote, not before, definitely not before. There was no discussion about hard or soft or deals or borders or any of that stuff beforehand. It was just this vague promise that things were going to get better, and that's what people voted for. And all of that became that came into being. All of those thoughts about how and how strong and how long and the softness of it, like we're buying tissue paper. All that came in afterwards. Not a syllable was mentioned about that before. And David, if you work in one of those jobs which a robot can take over, then it's about to disappear, along with probably 50% of the jobs that are currently being done by people in this country. So if a Polish person took your job, it's for a variety of reasons. You can't blame the Polish person. You would be perhaps better off directing your disappointment at the people that hired him. It's not the Poles' fault. It's the fault of the people that are doing the hiring. And they're going to fire that Polish person probably by this time next week and replace him with a robot. Our eye is in the wrong direction. We're all looking at the wrong thing. Hello, Stan.
Yeah, hi there.
Hello there.
On the show, as always.
Thanks.
Just like to grab on the tailcoats of your one of your previous callers.
Stan.
Spreading doom and...
Stan, please speak directly into the phone.
Yeah, how's that? Isn't that better?
A little bit better, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, just regarding your caller a couple of calls back who was saying about the doom and gloom about the Christian confrontation with Putin, etc. At least we can take some consolation that when the European army that Nick Clegg scoffed about is in that situation, our children won't be joining up because we'll be an independent country.
Right. Why would our children join up the army if they didn't want to?
Well, they wouldn't do. They wouldn't be conscripted because when it comes to it, European army, you're going to have to go whether you like it or whether you don't.
Why?
When they make that decision,
why?
They're going to. Why?
Mm.
Do you actually need to ask, or do you want me to give you an answer?
Yeah. Why would they bring in conscription?
How many have they got standing army in Russia compared with Europe?
I don't know.
They've got about 100 to 1.
Right, and how is that going to benefit us when we're outside the European Union?
Because we won't be having our children forcibly going to join the European army.
But why are European children going to be forced to join the army? Or based on what do you base that assumption?
Sweeps across like a new broom.
Oh, so when we leave the European Union, Russia are going to invade Europe, and fortunately we'll be out of it. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, it sounds like it's exactly what you're saying.
Well, okay, you make it any way you like, but what I am saying is when it comes to that sort of confrontation, conscription will be the only answer of raising enough troops to make a reasonable stand, and we can choose whether we want to join in or not, because we'll be an independent island.
No, we won't. We'll still be signed up to NATO, unless you want to leave that too.
No, we'll still be in NATO, but we'll be beyond the clutches of conscription.
But why do you think that they will be conscripted?
Because I'm old enough to have seen history and see how these things work.
That makes no sense, Stan.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Well, at least we can agree on one thing. It took a while, but we agreed in the end. What's he on about? They're going to be conscripted based on what? That we used to have conscription in this country during the war. And when we're out of the EU, then that will be Vladimir Putin rootin', tootin', shootin's opportunity to take over Europe. Well, because we are providing the dam against Russian intervention. Here's call in Shepperton. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Nick. Good evening. Just first of all, say I do enjoy your show.
But
you handle it very, very well.
But
the only thing I would say is I think you are being a bit disingenuous about Europe and the EU.
Yes.
And my point is that if you look at some of the facts of where Europe is at the moment.
Facts? No one is remotely interested in facts.
I understand that sometimes facts are not pleasant and palatable, but if you just take a few countries, Germany's almost into recession, France is rioting.
France.
Hungary,
Wait. Hang on a moment. France isn't rioting. A few people were rioting in Paris. That's not France is rioting.
Well, they're almost a state of emergency, but apart from that,
not
yes,
really.
okay, I'll
state of emergency? No.
Well, I think Paris was pretty much in lockdown. That would be a pretty much state of emergency.
In lockdown? I don't think so. But let's not get bogged down in. Let's not get bogged down in detail. Paris is still there, and so is France.
Hungary building a bigger wall than Trump can even afford. You've got Italy that's absolutely in battles with the EU Commission about their budget.
Yeah, with good reason.
I'm not even going to talk about Greece and what they did to them.
Well, let's talk about us. How are we doing?
Well, what I'm saying is that the EU isn't this land of milk and honey.
Well, of course it isn't. But where is?
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that you have to look in the bigger picture. It's not just about being comfortable and no change is comfortable. There is always going to be change, and I had to applaud it from my seat in the armchair, that guy yesterday said we're quite a resilient nation.
Oh, God.
And we'll find ways around things.
That is just
But
fantastical thinking. That's just wishing it will be true. We're resilient people.
Hang
What
on.
on earth are you talking
I'm
about?
that wasn't my point. I was saying about that there'll be ways around this.
How do you know?
Not just from the UK. Europe will find ways around this. Do you honestly think that all of that £20 billion of fresh produce that Spain sends us every year, they're going to allow to rot in the fields?
Again, this is the kind of thing. This is exactly the kind of thinking that we could go right back to the beginning. You can listen to David Davis and Jacob Rees-Mogg and all those people who are always saying the German manufacturing businesses won't allow us to get a bad deal, and everything that we want will come to pass because BMW won't allow the EU to treat us badly, and everything's going to be fine.
Nick,
and none of that's true.
Forget BMW. Just for a second, stop thinking about the cliches. Think about the bigger
It's not
picture.
cliches, it's hundreds of thousands of jobs, Richard.
Well, absolutely. But where are these jobs? They're all over Europe. So isn't there a vested interest that some sanity will prevail? Don't get me wrong. We have some idiot politicians in this country, right? But so does Europe. And you know,
Is that supposed to make me feel better?
No, it's not, but it's the reality of where we are. We get the politicians we deserve. We get Diane Abbott, for heaven's sake. I mean, she can't even hold a sentence.
Okay, but this is irrelevant to what you're talking about. You're saying that, your assertion is that Europe is failing. It's a disaster economically and socially, and we would be better off out. But there's no evidence to suggest that that's true. And there's equally no evidence to suggest that we'll be even if we were staying in, we would be better off than France and Germany, for instance, because at the moment we're not. They are doing better than we are.
Yeah, but you've assumed that I want to leave. That you should have asked me, and I would have said. But
it doesn't matter whether you want to or not. You were making the case to leave.
No, I'm not making.
Yeah, you were.
Case. What I'm saying is you've got to look at the bigger picture. That's what I actually said. I didn't say whether I think we should leave or whether we should stay.
Well, then then either you're not explaining yourself well, or I'm lacking in comprehension, because it sounded like you were making the case to leave to me. Stockton-on-Tees. Hello, Brian.
Yeah, good evening, Nick.
Brian.
Well, getting sick of all these Project Fear and scare stories. The paper tomorrow. Whitehall are making plans to evacuate the Queen because of Brexit.
To evacuate the Queen?
Evacuate the Queen. Come on, it's going way over the top, Nick. You know, all these stories are just, day after day they're pushing them out. No, we don't believe it because it's all over-egged. They did it before the referendum. Nothing of it happened. Why should we believe
wait a minute.
now?
Well, what did they say before the referendum? They said that we were going to get poorer. We are poorer. They said we were going to lose some manufacturing.
No,
we have lost.
The day after, they said we'd lose 500,000 jobs.
Well, maybe we will.
We never. It's gone. They said the day after we wanted to leave.
Nobody said we were going to lose
They
500,000.
pensioners would get it.
Wait a minute. Nobody said we were going to lose 500,000 jobs the day after. Nobody said
did.
that. No, they didn't.
They said in short time after.
Well, what does a short time mean? We haven't even left yet.
It was actually the opposite, Nick. We made more jobs, right? They said pensioners would lose a lot of the pension. That would lose pensions, the pensions and that.
Yeah.
It never happened. It was scare stories.
Brian, you fail to understand. We haven't left yet.
We are talking about what they said when we voted to leave, even.
Who's that? Okay. Let's just stop right there. You're just making stuff up. Who's the they? And when did they say what you said they say, and what precisely did they say? Who's the they first?
George Osborne, Cameron, a lot of them, right?
Okay, so in other words, you're just pulling numbers and names out of the air. You got.
He was on the television saying it.
Who did?
It's not me pulling. He said it on the television.
Who did?
George Osborne.
George Osborne said what?
He had pensioners looking at the pay. They're going to lose 4,000 a year. 4,000 a year pensioners. Looking at the purses, he pulled them up. Andrew Neil pulled them up. He said, "This is disgraceful. This, none of it happened." It's not made up, Nick. Stop saying
Brian,
it's made up.
we haven't left yet.
We're on about what was going to happen after the referendum. You said you're going to be 4,000 a year worse off.
Well,
households are going to be 4,000. It never happened.
5 years from now will be after the referendum.
Right. You were doing tonight Project Fear. All your programmes are Project Fear. Talking up the EU.
I can't stand it anymore, Brian. For God's sake, listen to yourself. The pound is 15% lower than it was before the referendum. Day after day, companies are telling us that they have made plans, if not actually leaving. I mean, even the prime Brexiteers are leaving. But you refuse to take on board any information that disagrees with your initial premise that this was a tremendous idea and we're all going to be better off because of it. And any information that comes your way, you just dismiss it as Project Fear. Nissan may reportedly cancelling their plans to make a car here. It's not Project Fear, Brian. It's Project Fact.
But could it be a catastrophe to stay in the EU? I think it could. But
Brian, that's Project... Wait a minute. You saying that it could is Project Fear.
Right. But we'll look on the other foot, shall we? Turn it round.
No, answer that challenge. You saying that it would be bad is Project... This is exactly what you say.
Because nothing has hardly been mentioned about staying in the EU. I'm saying if we remain in the EU,
yes,
France has big problems.
Well, I mean, we have big problems.
No, but you had a phone call on a couple of nights ago, and you fobbed it off saying France has no problems. They've had 11 weeks.
No, I did not say France has no problems. I said that we have bigger problems.
You said it was very little. He's actually given them the tax thing. He's given what he was going to do. He's rescinded it to keep them happy, and they're still riding on the street. There were 65,000 last weekend. Come on, Nick, you're having big problems. Trade is not going to go up with the EU. It's going down. You have high unemployment. You're having big problems. They have elections coming soon, don't they?
How is that? How is leaving going to help?
All I'm saying is it could be a disaster staying in. Couldn't it? It could. We haven't got a crystal ball. You haven't. I haven't. We've voted to leave. We've got to get on with it.
We've got to accept it, Nick. We are getting on with it. It's got nothing to do with me.
No, but people like you, all you've done is Project Fear all night.
Yeah, but I can't stand it anymore, Brian. It's just painful. It's not Project Fear, it's Project Fact. But you just refuse to believe anything that comes your way that you don't already agree with. Conway, hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick.
Dave.
You all right, buddy?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. I just want to start off by saying I really do enjoy your show. Yeah. I do enjoy your show. When you think about it, there's hundreds of TV channels out there. There's hundreds of radio stations, and I've tuned into you.
Thank you.
So that's got to stand for something.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
But
yeah. But well, it doesn't mean that I have to agree with you on everything, does it?
Yes.
So my point is, I don't want to be part of an organisation that's about to implode. You see, the thing is, no, seriously, let me just finish my point. There's 5 major contributors to the EU, yeah?
Yeah.
You've got Germany, France, UK, Italy and Spain. Right, take us out of it. Those 5 countries, Germany, France, Italy and Spain, the other 4 countries, right, they are either in recession or very close to recession.
Right. Now, is this back to what I said before about us saying that this house is flammable and then us setting it on fire and saying, I told you so?
No. What I'm saying, Nick, right, on the contrary, right, our economy is doing quite good at the moment.
Not really.
Now, the thing is, it is.
Well, it isn't.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, Nick, right, just very briefly, and then, you know...
Well, what do you mean by our economy is doing well right now?
Well...
it's a pretty bold statement, Dave. Back it up.
The statements come from the Prime Minister.
Did she also say that she was doing a fantastic job?
No, our economy it's on the rise. Right?
What does that mean?
Well, we're doing good. We're doing better than the other EU countries. Now, the thing is, right...
That's not true.
No, but if these countries go into recession and Europe does implode...
Yes.
And we're part of Europe...
Yeah.
Then we're going to have to bail them out.
Bail them out?
Yes, like we bailed out in Greece.
Well, Greece wouldn't see it that way.
Well, they're in debt to the UK now. They're in a terrible state.
Dude, everybody is in debt to everybody else.
Yes, I know, but what
I mean, do you know how much our national debt is?
Yeah, I do.
How much?
Trillions. It's trillions.
It's trillions. Yeah.
It is trillions.
Well, yeah. Let's not bother to put a number on it. It's just trillions.
It's trillions. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's a couple of trillion between friends?
Yeah. What I'm saying, Nick, right? I believe Europe's about to implode.
Well, and how does us leaving benefit us in that regard, considering that about... wait a minute. Considering that about 50% of our exports go to Europe.
Yes. But look, like your second caller said, right, he was I know you didn't agree with him, but I did agree with him on a lot of points. The Australian guys, going back to Australia, he made some good points, Nick.
Did he?
Yeah, no, and I'll finish off by
I don't think he made one good point, apart from that he was leaving.
Well, no, I'll finish off by saying this. You're not going to agree with what I say, but I do enjoy your show. So
okay, thanks a lot, Dave. Cheers, mate. Liskeard in Cornwall. Sandra.
Oh, good evening.
Sandra.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Sandra.
I just wanted to say that I wonder what business rates these companies will be paying when they go to Europe in, say, 5 years' time.
Right. Are you asking me that, or you're just wondering it?
I can't ask anybody that, really, because I don't know, but I'm just curious, because there's quite a few worrying things happening in Europe at the moment.
Well, and here, too.
But in Bloomberg Television, that's where I get my information from.
Is it?
Yeah. 100,000 German car jobs, German report, to say that Volkswagen and Bremen Motorworks jobs will be going.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a no-deal Brexit. Also, in Italy, the populist government is trying to get money from the European Bank, Central Bank Brussels, because they want compensation for their customers. Herr Schabel in Germany...
They want compensation for what?
Well, for what money they've lost.
They've lost their customers' money?
I can only quote you what's in the headline on Bloomberg. It said, Italy's populists champion savers, and they slam the central bank in Brussels in order to get compensation for customers.
For what?
Well, loss of interest, I suppose.
A loss of interest? Well, how many people in this country have enjoyed great rates of interest lately?
Well, none of us, of course.
Well, there you go. Where's my compensation?
Exactly. And then another thing, Herr Scheibel in Germany is urging a fix urgently for huge infrastructure problems in Germany because of a lack of investment.
Yeah, well, what about our infrastructure problems? We're probably going to cancel HS2 because we can't afford a railway.
It just points out that everybody's in the same boat.
Well, not the exact same boat. Some boats are sinking faster than others.
Yes, I imagine they are, but I don't think it's us.
No, it is us.
No, I don't think so.
Well, you thinking not is neither here nor there, Sandra.
Well, that's not what the Bank of England chap said, did he, for once? He came out of his gloom and doom scenario and just happened to say something quite positive.
No, he didn't. You're talking about Mark Carney?
Yes.
Mark Carney, the governor of the Bank of England, said Brexit could be the first test of a new global order that could prove the acid test of whether a way can be found to broaden the benefits of openness while enhancing democratic accountability. And people on the far right sent up the streamers saying, he's backing Brexit. Well, which part of that sounds like he's backing Brexit?
Well, you're never going to find out unless you try. You're never going to find out how good we could be unless you try it.
Well,
you want to stay behind an old-fashioned European Union, you're welcome to it. But we're better than that now.
We're better? In what way are we better than Europe?
Well, because at least we've become an independent country. I wonder, really, how ever we managed. How did we manage to become a country like we were before we went into the EU without them?
But before we went into the EU, Sandra, we were the sick man of Europe. And then after we joined the EU, we became
the man of Europe.
Huh? No, that's the opposite of true.
Oh, no, because I remember when friends of mine in Spain, they said, they don't want Spain to join the EU, France, because Spain's vegetables are so much better. I remember all that. There's always been this trouble with the European. They're not together. They're just wanting to sort of make money for themselves, and I'm afraid It's out of date. It needs to sort of do something to itself, sort itself out somehow.
It's out of date. You're really making no sense. Try watching something other. If this is the information you're getting from Bloomberg TV, turn it off. The Isle of Wight. Hello, Billy.
Hello, good evening, Nick.
Billy.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with you, Nick.
Oh, no, I haven't made a mistake again, have I? Why do I keep doing that?
I normally always enjoy listening to you, but I've got to say, I didn't like what you said about Brexit, Nick. You was mentioning about Leave. What type of Leave votes people voted for? If I'm getting the right flow of things here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, I wanted to call up really to say that you could argue what type of anything people want in any type of election till you're blue in the face. I mean, you've only got to look at the Green Party for that. You know,
the Green Party? What have they done now?
I mean, well, let's say someone votes for the Green Party. Are they voting for a Baroness Jenny Jones Brexit Green Pie? Are they voting for a Jonathan Bartley Green Pie? Are they voting for a Vix... sorry, not Vix, that's the name of the candidate on the Isle of Wight, believe it or not. Are they voting for a Jonathan Bartley Green Party?
Well, I'll tell you why I voted Green,
what are they
shall I?
voting for?
Shall I tell you why I voted Green?
Yes, please do.
Because they were none of the above.
But see, this is what I mean. See, you voted for the Green Party for that reason, but there are plenty of others out there that voted...
Well, they probably read the manifesto and thought, yeah, that sounds about right, and voted for that.
Well, I think it's already been proven, really, isn't it, that a lot of voters don't tend to read the manifestos.
Well, they may have glanced at the leaflet that came through the door. I mean, some of the leaflets that come through your door have a picture of your local representative on them that makes you drop the leaflet with shock. And you think, oh, well, I need not read a single word of that. I don't like the look of that person, so whoever he or she is representing does not get my vote.
Yeah, I mean, I do see your point there, and I do feel that, you know, that is valid. But then again, I suppose if you look at what the government sent out, you know, that pamphlet that they spent £9 million on, it did actually state in there that we would leave the single market, I believe it is. So it's not as though Brexit voters who decided to do what you're suggesting, which is read leaflets, weren't exactly informed. I mean...
Well, now, I disagree with you there, because I think that even now, if I went into the street with a clipboard and asked 1,000 people what the single market was, I bet I would get a handful of people who actually knew what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't know. I'm not an expert on the EU by any stretch of the imagination, and, you know, I could probably just about ruffle up what I think the single market is, like a lot of people. But then that's politics for you overall. I mean, what I believe in, and this is why I wanted to call up, Nick, because... But
on that issue, it doesn't really matter whether you know the intricacies of it. But leaving the single market can be done in a variety of ways. It can be done by having a deal which props up our economy in some way and goes a way to alleviate the concerns of the people on whom we rely for our income, or we can just crash out and cross our fingers and hope for the best and expect it will work out fine because we're British.
See, I think these are sentiments that just don't help in the political debate. The words like crashing out.
I'm not helping? Oh, no.
Well, the thing is, do you know what the IMF said prior to the referendum, Nick? They said that this is the vote. I'm talking about the vote, not actually Brexit happening. The IMF, and you can Google this, it's on a number of news outlets that are very reputable. They said that the housing market and the stock market would crash immediately after the Brexit vote happened. That's not after Brexit happened, that's after the vote happened. So all these words like crashing out, it really I'm a liberal Brexiteer.
But the pound did crash.
The pound did crash, but the stock market and the housing market, which I've just mentioned, didn't. Now, what I'm saying is words like crashing out and it's going to be doomsday. I'm not saying that you're saying that as such, but you did say crashing out.
Well, I mean, I've got here the IMF. The IMF says the UK economy will rapidly start to contract in the event of a disruptive exit. So I'm not sure that you're right.
Well, they also said, and you can look at a number of articles going back to 2016, that the stock market and the housing market would crash overnight after the vote to leave. That's
well,
not after
I'm not sure that. I don't recall ever reading that, so I dispute. I dispute your assertion.
But what I'm saying is your listeners can look at that information for themselves.
So is your contention, Billy, that because economists once got things slightly wrong, that or even very wrong, that we should no longer listen to economists?
No,
or experts of any kind.
I certainly didn't suggest that, and I think what you're doing.
But what's your point, though? Well, what's your point, though? You said that the IMF once got something wrong, and...
See, now you're talking over me, and that doesn't help, Nick.
Oh, God. Well, don't get an attitude about it, Billy. I'm saying that you said that the IMF once got something wrong. What's your point?
No, what I'm saying is I'm quoting what you said, which is the word crashing out, and I'm saying that sentiments like that, and I've said that twice now, so your listeners... can make their own mind up. But I'm saying that words like that don't help, and I use the example of the IMF in that particular situation as an example. If you want another example, I can give you one.
But when you say don't help, are you saying ruinous to the economy, or just poison the discussion?
Maybe I know you're short for time, so maybe we can end on a positive note. What I'm saying is words like that don't help.
But what do you mean by help?
Well, if you'd let me finish, Nick, maybe I can explain to you. So I'm quite a liberal Brexiteer, and I think that the 48% need to be equally as represented as the 52%. And using strong words like crashing out simply doesn't help, because I'm one of these...
You keep saying don't help. Explain explain what you mean.
So it's exaggeration, because the IMF said very clearly before the referendum...
Oh, God, please don't repeat that again.
Okay, well, I won't repeat that one. I used the example that George Osborne gave before the election, which was that every household...
the very popular George Osborne.
£4.5 worse off. And see, even you think that's ridiculous. So you prove my point.
I don't.
Well, no, you do.
Now you're putting words in my mouth.
Okay, well, now you know what it feels like.
Well, but you don't win an argument by doing the exact same thing that you just accused me of, telling me it was the wrong thing to do, Billy. Jeffrey says, why don't you sod off to an EU country then if it's all so fabulous? You see, we are just surrounded by morons. David in Durham. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. You're panicking about now, man.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that.
You see, can you mind on a few years ago, you know a fella called Mark Carney?
Yes.
He's an expert, isn't he? He's an expert.
Well, let's hope so, because he's getting the big
he
money.
knows what he's on with.
Yes.
No, if I can mind correctly, he's one of the experts that said that a few years ago, if Britain didn't join the euro, it meant financial disaster. People wouldn't trade with us. We're going to sink, and we'll have to join the euro. Or
I don't recall him saying that.
Oh, that's convenient. Well, he did. He did.
Well, if you say so.
I'll tell you where it is, right?
Well, how do you know that it's not true? I mean, we didn't, but if we had done, we may be spectacularly rich by now. Each and every one of us could be billionaires, David. You don't know that it's not true?
No, but did you notice the difference?
Between what and what?
When we didn't join the euro.
Well, how could you notice the difference between when you didn't do something?
Well,
there is no difference, because there's... I mean, that's a silly question.
There would be if experts like Mark Carney were right in saying that we're all going to starve.
You know what I object to with people. Oh God, please, David. What I object to with people such as yourself is whenever you hear something that you don't agree with, then you just come out with the same old thing. Oh, it's scaremongering. It's not true. It won't come to pass because I don't believe it will.
It won't come to pass because the experts have been disastrously wrong before.
Let me ask you a question, David. When you're ill and you go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ask the opinion of experts?
Nah.
Okay, thanks a lot, mate. 034, I think that's your first mistake. Let's have Welling. Hello, Jean.
Hello.
Jean.
Hello, right, yes.
You must remember Ray Stevens and The Streak?
Disgusting. Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
A little bit.
Anyway, yeah, got a bone to pick with you. I'm a Brexiteer. Wait for it.
I haven't done something wrong again, have I?
Yes, because I get annoyed at people saying I didn't know what I voted for, but I did. and I know what I voted for, and I would vote for the same thing again.
What did you vote for?
And I'll tell you the reasons why I voted.
But what did you vote for?
I voted Leave.
But but what kind of leave? You wanted to crash out? You wanted to sail out with no deal, or did you want to have some sort of negotiated trade deal?
I wouldn't mind going out with no deal.
But
I've listened to Jacob Rees-Mogg, and it's
oh my God,
him right back. But what I'm saying is, he has a lot of history that he knows about the country and everything, and he thinks it's great to sort of go down that path. But also, why I voted for it in the first place was because I feel that over the 2 world wars that we've had...
Oh, my God.
We fought for our country. Our soldiers died for
Oh, no, we're not still fighting the war, are we?
Yes, because the EU... Now, for a drop of our hat, if we was just to say, oh, right, yes, you can have it, you know, we're paying 39 billion for the privilege, plus for them to carry on and control our laws, we've just given it away like that.
Like what laws?
Well, they control our country. They say what we can and can't do. We can't trade with other countries like we'd like to.
Yes, we do.
So we would have a lot more freedom.
But to do what?
To trade with other countries.
But we
like
trade with other countries. Name a country we don't trade with.
I don't know, but we would have more.
Well, name one. I'll make it really easy for you, Jean. Name one country on earth that we do not trade with because of the evil EU.
Well, you tell me.
No, you said it. You said that we could trade with more countries. Name one.
Well, I think we could. We could open
Well, name one country. How do you think that we would be able to negotiate a better trade deal for us on our own than with the might of the EU behind us? How would that even be possible?
Because I mean, you saw the other day that Theresa May had the Prime Minister from New Zealand come over. I'm sure she probably did. It wasn't a nicey. She probably...
New Zealand. You would have to leave the planet to get further away, for a start. Plus, there's hardly anybody lives in New Zealand. What are we going to trade with New Zealand that we don't already send there? And what would they send to us that they don't do already?
But it's not only that. We wouldn't have the problem of this wretched backstop, because if we come out and we have a no deal, we can make our own laws.
You don't even... Do you even understand what the backstop is?
It's all to do with border control.
It's about leaving the EU. If we weren't leaving the EU, there wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, but we voted. We had the greater majority of the country voting to leave the EU, and yet we're trying to do a fudged-up one with...
No, what you fail to understand, Jean, even after all this time, is that politicians are trying desperately not to minimise the damage.
Yeah. But I think.
But you don't.
A lot of it is
you don't mind about that. Okay, so.
No, it's not that. I think.
But you have no information other than you've heard people like Jacob Rees-Mogg say that it's scaremongering. He'll be fine, Jean. He is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, but you've got some. I must admit, you've got some people in trades or directors saying yes, it would hurt them.
Not
Other
some.
Ones,
Not some.
They're not
Many.
Saying it will. They're not saying it will. They're saying it's better for them.
Who? The guy who runs pubs. The guy who runs pubs.
A few, yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, that one, Wetherspoon.
Well, I very much doubt that his business will be affected one way or the other because he doesn't trade internationally. It's a trade within the borders of this country. Name another.
Yeah.
Name another who would be actually affected one way or the other by us leaving the EU.
Now, I know that Dyson has gone out to...
Oh, exactly. Bingo.
He was, but he said it's literally just a case of, like, money.
Yes, and then he left.
Yeah.
Well, what does that tell you?
It still tells me, I still think a lot of it is scaremongering,
Yeah, but only because you've heard someone like Jacob Rees-Mogg say that. You're basing that opinion on no information of any kind, Jean. It's just a feeling you've got. It's a wish, isn't it?
But I do think...
but your thinking is irrelevant. You might think that ghosts are real or that we're being run by aliens, but that thought is based on no facts. It's just a feeling.
So are you saying that me and 52% of our country have all been basing it on a feeling that,
Yes.
that we're all wrong.
Yes, precisely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, you all based it on a feeling. You had no information, no facts at your fingertips. You still,
So you tell me the reason why you-
almost 3 years later, have no facts at your fingertips. There's still just feelings. That's the astonishing thing about this. People are still basing their opinions on nothing. Let's have Barnet. Hello, John.
Hello, Nick. Yeah. How old are you, Nick?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Is that relevant?
Yeah, it is, yes.
How old are you, John?
I'm a lot older than you, son. I'll tell you what makes me laugh about you.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 74 years old.
74 years old. You made it, but only just.
Listen, Snowflake. Listen, in the 60s, we run the world. We used to, during the 60s...
In the 60s, we ran the world.
The world.
No, but
we
go
were the
on.
greatest country in the world. And also...
0345 6060 973. My glamorous sister, you got rid of him, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, okay. Well, he said something you shouldn't oughta. Here's a furious call in Northern Ireland. Hello, Frank.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, mate.
Yeah, so the thing is, for me personally, did you hear that?
What?
That's okay. Chewbacca is my message tone. I got a message came through there, so I heard Chewbacca in the background. I apologise for that. Yeah, so...
well, let's hope that that's the weirdest thing that happens on this call. I don't know if it will be, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably not really. Yeah, but I think the whole issue is that I'm quite disappointed in you and your colleague. Yes. And
what have I done?
Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you are LBC, and I'm quite new to joining you, but I've rang in a few times to different shows, including Nigel Farage and whatever,
Yeah.
And,
who else?
Do you know what? Man, I don't know their names. Because you know what?
But you called them anyway.
Yeah, but that's how much you mean to me. I don't know your name, but I'm disappointed in the rhetoric that you are spouting.
Who, me or the radio station?
Your colleagues, and on this particular occasion, you.
Right.
Okay. It's like what is the date? Why can you not see, instead of trying to spread fear, why can you not see that Brexit, if it was with a strong leader, is nothing but a plus? Okay. So
what leads you to that conclusion, Frank?
Well, here we are. Here we go. Easy, right? So, the Brexit. What's that? So you're making a cup of tea in the background?
Nice cup of tea, yes.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. I'm gonna. Do you know what? If you hear any noise from me, it'll be me making a G&T. You enjoy your tea. I'll have a G&T, okay?
Right.
So here's the thing, right? So the divorce bill is £39 billion.
Yeah, peanuts.
Yeah?
Peanuts.
No, it's not peanuts. It's £39 billion.
Yeah,
okay?
peanuts.
That can do a lot of good for the United Kingdom. All right.
Yeah, we're making a big deal about a relatively small amount of money, 39 billion. So what?
Okay. So
I mean, you know how many days it would take the government to make 39 billion pounds in tax receipts? I mean, do you have any idea how much 39 billion pounds actually is?
No, but would you consider that 15 billion is significantly less than 39?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd have to do the maths.
Okay, yes or no. 15 billion is either.
Well, you're asking me to do mental arithmetic. It's beyond my ability. I don't think I can do that, Frank. And you can't prove it one way or the other. And that's a fact.
Yeah, of course I can. 15 billion is significantly less than 39
Well,
billion.
I could get experts on this show that could say the exact opposite. Well, let's just agree that it's something that can't be proven one way or the other.
You can't. Right? Less than 50% is less than 50%. You can't prove otherwise, okay?
Right, well, these are just numbers,
okay,
and nobody believes in numbers or facts anymore.
Well, maybe. Okay, but if the UK government were to offer, as I said to Nigel Farage last night, offer to buy the votes for the lowest 15 economically stable countries in the EU.
Buy the votes.
Buy the votes. Say, Theresa May come along and say, you vote for what I want. The EU has come along and said, this is what you will have. And Theresa May comes back and says, no, actually, I think you'll find this is what I want.
Yeah, that's what a negotiation is. One side says what they want, the other side says what they want. Most of the time they agree to disagree and meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, love what you're saying, yeah, and that's what needs to happen.
Well, that's what is happening.
No, it's not happening, because here's the thing. This is the point, right, is Theresa May has the money. The UK government has the money to buy the votes, to buy exactly the deal that the UK needs to leave on a strong footing, right?
Frank, how many G&Ts are you in already?
At the moment, listening to you, I wish it was one more than I've had.
Yeah, me too.
Okay?
Then maybe you wouldn't have been able to find the phone. As a great step forward in democracy, we're going to buy the votes from the European Union smaller countries. Is that what you're saying?
Do you know what? It's all well and good for you. No, don't dismiss it. The EU would not allow that to happen.
Nobody would. Buying votes. What are you talking about?
Exactly. The EU won't allow it to happen because it will allow the other financially strong countries to do it. Theresa May needs to stand up and say, look, you either give me what I want or I will buy the votes to make it happen, and then other countries will also buy the votes to leave the failed EU federate state.
Frank, what are you talking about? Buying votes? What are you talking about?
Man, how can you not understand that? If the UK was to offer Greece £1 billion, in favour for their vote, now, do you think they would take it?
It wouldn't make any difference one way or the other. It's got to be a unanimous vote, Frank.
It doesn't have to be unanimous.
It does have to be unanimous. That is exactly what it has to be. Unanimous.
Yes. But,
wow, that didn't take long. From, oh, no, it isn't, to, oh, yes, it is, in about 2 seconds flat. That was easy, Frank.
It doesn't
well, I'll wait till you mix yourself another drink. See if you can straighten your thought.
As soon as the other countries put the yellow coats in France, for example, put their voices into action, it's done. The UK is the strongest position possible. Sorry, do you think that, hello?
Okay, you know what's really alarming is that this country is following that guy. We decided as a nation that we're not really interested in facts or truth or intelligence anymore. We're just going to follow whoever shouts the loudest. Whatever crazy idea that you can come up with, please jump to the front of the queue, because we're interested in your thought. Even if you haven't got one, we're still keen to do whatever it is that you would like us to do. We're buying votes now, because, that makes as much sense as anything else that we've heard on this issue. Oh, my God. And he was upset with me? I've heard that so many times. People who call in, and I wonder if James O'Brien gets this. Probably not. He being the bigger show. But the amount of times people call in to me and say, you and James O'Brien, I've never heard such bias in my life. And I was saying this to Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage just the other day. Luton. Hello, John.
Hi there, yeah.
Hello
you're
there.
More polite than James Whale. I thought James was James O'Brien, sorry.
I'm what? I'm what than James O'Brien?
You're more polite than
James O'Brien. Polite than James O'Brien.
Yeah.
Affirmative.
He's a nightmare. I think he just affirms that voting Brexit is the best, but what you do let people speak, which is great. But anyway, I just want to speak. I'm a businessman, and I am primarily export, but we only export. 10% of our orders come from the EU. Yeah. 90% at least come from Singapore, China, Indonesia, Brazil, all the emerging markets.
You export to China.
Yes, because we're in the cutting edge we've sold to the biotech and the pharmaceutical industry there, growing industries, and they all want to buy British.
Ah, the growing industries.
Want to score some pot?
Now I know what we're talking about.
Exactly. But the other thing is, I think this whole thing is
exactly. You actually are a drug dealer.
Well, we're cutting edge cancer treatments and things like that, so it's pretty good stuff. But
okay. You have cutting edge cancer treatments, and you sell mostly to China.
Well, the market. Listen, the pharmaceutical industry is essentially moving out of Europe, apart from Germany.
What? There are no ill people in Europe anymore.
No, they don't. The Germans look after. We're talking about manufacturing companies. Now, let me explain. UCB is one of the biggest companies in Belgium, manufacturers and worldwide. They have just placed an order for £1 billion into the UK to set up research institutes in the UK, because they know the UK has some of the best, most intelligent staff they can find. And when asked about Brexit, they said, "What's Brexit got to do with anything? Got to do with anything?" Now, let me
wait a minute. You're saying that Belgium, that we have the brightest, the British people are the brightest in Europe?
Yes.
Oh, do me a favour. What are you talking about?
They're putting up. No, they have made a decision. Look on the internet. Look at UCB Pharma. They're just placing an order, but placing a decision by the CEO for putting $1 billion of investment into the UK. Now, this is what's going to happen. Brexit for them, any businessman, is irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Oh, please, John, what are you talking about? Businesses are saying that Brexit is irrelevant. That's the opposite of the truth.
This is the difference between broadcasters and business people. Business people know that whatever happens politically, and what's happening now is just loads and loads of political claptrap. Ireland basically has a huge interest in actually exporting to the UK. You know that. Their whole agricultural industry depends on that. They are desperate to get a deal with the UK. They are desperate. You look into Holland. We had a big thing on Holland. The big, massive onion manufacturer. She's screaming because she's worried that her product isn't going to get to the UK. It's going to rot on the borders of Rotterdam. So there's going to be so much inward pressure from Europe to get.
We've heard this right from the beginning. Yes, we have. Right from the beginning. People like Jacob Rees-Mogg were saying that the European Union is going to capitulate and they're going to fall on their knees and beg us to tell them what we want, because BMW and Mercedes will insist upon it. And it did not happen, did it, John?
WTO rules are no problem.
For God's sake. Yes, they are. You can't, in one sentence, say that the agriculture industry is looking for a deal, and then on the other say that you recommend WTO rules, because agriculture will fall on its face.
No, the Irish economy will fall on its face. What do you think they're going to do? Look how dependent they are on the UK. The whole thing.
Is this they need us more than we need them?
No, the point is they're going to come to their senses, and it's going to be.
We've been hearing this all the way through, and it's not happened, John.
You're a politician, not a businessman.
I'm not a politician.
I know. I've been to Asia. That's where the market is made. It's not it's not in Europe.
Yes, it is. I know that China is a place, and that it is a big market, and that it is probably going to overtake America in a relatively short period of time, particularly if the current incumbent has anything to do with it. But to say that Europe, the EU, the biggest trading bloc in the world, is irrelevant is just stupid.
Rubbish. Get into business. Go to Asia. Go to Vietnam. Go to Singapore. You'll see the growing market.
Singapore. Oh, for crying out loud.
For British product.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, John. But as a business, you know what? I don't believe you're a businessman, because a proper businessman wouldn't be saying any of this. I think you're just trolling me. To say that we should turn our back on a market which takes about 50% of our exports in favour of trying to negotiate from a period of from a point of weakness with a much bigger bloc is just ridiculous.
But what's but in the real world, if you're going think of Novartis. You've heard of Novartis, yeah? Mega Swiss company, they have big manufacturing bases in Singapore. They couldn't give a toss about the EU. You go in there as a businessman from the UK, you negotiate a contract directly with Novartis in Singapore. Well, you don't understand. You guys are not in business. Business goes from businessman to businessman. People sell to people. They don't sell to some EU political claptrap. They sell.
No, of course they don't. But the EU political claptrap, as you say, or the World Trade Organization rules, put up tariffs on the things that they're trying to sell. Obviously.
But the point is the point.
Well,
the point
do
is,
they or don't they?
Well, they do.
Exactly.
But I mean, obviously, but with the UK and Singapore, we have no.
Will you stop with
UK
Singapore? What's Singapore got to do with it?
Because Singapore has is the most secure base for high-tech industries. That they basically, it's to do with intellectual property law. So they tend to attract all of the cutting-edge business. But the reason they deal with the Brits, I've been there, and they say
the reason that they attract like Dyson, for instance, is because it's a tax haven.
It is attractive tax haven.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But that's where the high-tech companies go. That's where Britain is going to always be strong, mate.
In Singapore.
No, the Chinese love Brits. They love the British people. They want to work with British. You haven't been out there. How many?
Is it because we're smarter than anybody else in Europe? Because that was your initial assertion that the Belgians think that we're the smartest, and that's why they're spending money here. Oh, you're all over the shop, John. Let me give you a brief list of some of the businessmen who run considerably bigger businesses than you do, and I still don't believe that you're an actual businessman, because some of the stuff you're coming out with, it just implies that if you've got shares in your business, maybe sell them straight away. Sell. Let's have West Hampstead. Hello, Mark.
Stop knocking my nationality again. You keep constantly doing this. Right, let me give you two examples of the economic study, right, for us to argue about. The fishing industry only made £980 million last year.
Yeah.
And it paid less than £23 million in tax, £170 million profit from all the trawlers, etc. The banking industry, the 5 top banks...
Why are you comparing the fishing industry to the banking industry?
I'm just giving you two examples, and we have to argue after I give you them what is best for this country. The banking industry, the top 5 banks paid $454 million in tax and employed 2.2 million people.
Well, the difference between the fishing industry and the banking industry is the fishing industry did not collapse the world economy.
Really? Allegedly? Are you sure they did that?
Allegedly? There's no allegedly about it. Our national debt doubled as a result of the banks, which we are preeminent in, crashing the world's economy. It doubled. And it is increasing every second of every day. Still, after 10 years of austerity, after 10 years of fewer police, fewer doctors, fewer hospitals, potholes in the road not getting fixed, fewer carers, and I could go on and on and on. Teachers, etc., etc., etc. Everything that we rely on to be provided by the government has been cut and cut and cut, specifically because, and only because, the banks, who are, and it's the fault of the City of London and New York specifically, the banks crashed the world's economy. And 12 years later, we still have not recovered, Mark, at all. Not
60% of our economy is financial services. You can't knock that. A tiny little bit. The fishing industry is now welfare.
Why are you bringing up the fishing industry? What's that got to do with it?
Because I'm going to give you one example, if you let me speak, of the other side. One bank 3 weeks ago moved $15 trillion around a financial system and came back and made £1 billion in 3 weeks. Exactly the same as the whole of the fishing industry, which provides...
Why are you talking about the fishing industry?
Because it's a welfare system now. It doesn't contribute anything to the country.
That's not answering my question. Why are you talking about the fishing industry?
Because it costs us money. It doesn't provide any income, and a lot of industries in our country does not provide any money to the coffers of these treasury. The top 1%
what's the
of the
fishing
rich
industry
in this
got to do with banking?
Let me speak. You're not going to win by talking over me.
Well, I am. I've won already. You're comparing. You're saying, do you want the fishing industry or do you want the banking industry? Which is just a ridiculous question. Edinburgh. Hello, Michael.
Yeah. Hi, Nick.
Michael.
sorry to come on and immediately insult you, but I've just spent a long day in London and catching a late flight back from London to Edinburgh and arrived.
Really? Are you tired?
Stop whining. My radio on, and I've got to listen to your tosh.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't, Michael. You can turn it right off again.
Well, yes, I know. But
so what you did instead of that was to call up somebody you don't know to complain about something you haven't paid for that you don't have to listen to. You waited, and so far you've waited a half an hour to tell me this.
Talk. Listen. You know, people come home. I'm 25 years. I listened to the BBC and got really fed up with it and moved over to LBC.
Are you still whining?
For what I hope was the right reason.
Still moaning.
But listen, your nonsense over.
Listen, Michael, if I knocked on your door and came to your house, and the first thing listen to me, and the first thing that I said to you was an insult, followed by another one, and then another one, and complaining and whining, what would you do? Would you invite me in?
You deserve them. You deserve them.
Okay, but if I said you deserve it, would you invite me in? Yes or no?
You paint your own
yes
pictures.
Or no?
You paint your own pictures, and it's totally wrong. Look,
no, it isn't. It isn't wrong. Here's what's just happened, Michael. You've spent now 35 minutes waiting to talk to someone you don't know about something you don't have to listen to, that you haven't paid for. Which part of that makes sense?
And hearing it.
Listen to you're not. Are you listening to me? Are you?
You've been banging on for months and months about Brexit.
So you've been listening to me for months and months. I mean, that's just utterly bizarre. What kind of a person would subject themselves to something that they don't like for months and months? What, are you into torture? Is this an S&M thing?
And your silly noises don't...
yeah, I know, but which you've been listening to for months. Painful.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Clapham. Hello, James.
Hi, Nick.
James.
Yes, Nick. Nick. I don't know what you're going to achieve by basically, having a go and, degrading the Brexiteers or leavers by basically saying that they're thick, stupid, retarded.
Well, you put those words in my mouth, James. I never said any of those words. I never said they were thick. I never said they were stupid. I never said they were retarded. That's you saying that.
No, Nick, your callers have been saying this for the last past hour. Okay?
No, they haven't. That's just you. You've said that, not my callers. That's just you.
Pay to go and change your light bulb. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that was somebody caught that. Somebody texted in a joke. Oh God, are you so thin-skinned you can't take a joke now?
No, you can't either, Nick. Nick, by the way, to James Dyson, he paid £123.8 million for the tax last year. He's moving to...
Oh, big deal. He made a... If that's true, what's that number again? How much? How much? Say it again.
Two people.
James, listen to me. Back up. How much tax did he pay? James.
23.8.
Right. If that's true, then if that is true, big bloomin' deal. £123.8 million. He made a profit of £1 billion. That's 12%. How did he manage to pay 12% tax?
12% tax? Where are you getting this from? This is worldwide.
He made £1 billion in profit last year, James. You just told me he made he paid 123 million in tax. That's 12%.
Yes, in the United Kingdom coffers, yes, he did. Yeah.
Well, that's 12%. How did he manage to do that?
You just can't. You can't deal with the fact.
How did he manage? If your assertion is correct, how did he manage to only pay 12% tax?
12% tax. You're actually thinking of £1 billion, aren't you? Not the actual total revenue, not the earnings before tax, the EBT.
Profit.
Don't know what his earnings.
£1 billion in profit.
Is earnings before tax, Nick?
Profit.
No, I'm on about his earnings before tax.
Profit is after tax.
Yes, but I'm talking about his enter.
You don't seem to get...
So what does he generate for the country?
He's moving his operation to Singapore.
He's moving two personnel to Singapore.
James, he's opening a factory to build electric cars in Singapore. He builds all of his products abroad.
3,998 people.
James, listen to me. Oh yeah, it's pointless. Absolutely pointless. You see, when people say that Oh, there's like that. Oh, he's only moving 2 people. Do me a favour. He's moving his headquarters. That entire business is run by 2 people. What are you talking about? Let's have a call in Nottingham. Hello, Paul.
Good evening, Nick.
Paul.
How are you?
Well, let's get the pleasantries out of the way before you start shouting at me. I'm fine, Paul. How are you?
I'm not going to shout. On the contrary, I've been listening to quite a few of your callers tonight,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and it's quite funny and interesting.
But?
What I don't get, from my own point of view, and I'm just going to say this because I'm sitting back and looking, I'm not criticising, I am sympathetic to everybody that wanted to remain in Europe. I don't think leavers get the same courtesy back, but I don't understand why we're so panicky over food and medicines and stuff like that. And the reason I say that...
You don't understand? Well, why don't you read something?
No, because...
Then you will understand.
No. I do need stuff, but I know you can also get it from anywhere else in the world. It's not just European countries that make it, produce it, and have it. Because if that was the case, then, to be fair, Canada would have been a mess for years. So would Japan, so would China. Because it's only in the last few years that they've actually done trade deals. I mean, it took the EU 7 years to do a trade deal with Canada.
Yes.
So we must be able to get all of this stuff from everywhere else in the world.
Well, Europe is not the only place that grows things. I mean, I'm sure Japan grows their own things, and they get what they don't grow there from places that are nearer than Europe, I would imagine.
So why should we be so worried about... I mean, let's be right. I know a lot of people saw that thing the other day on the news about all these retailers saying there's going to be shortages on the shelves and everything else.
Yeah, but what do they know?
How many of your... No, I'm only going to ask you this as a simple, fair question.
Go on.
How many of those retailers, CEOs and chief officers and everything else are Remainers? And how
what difference does that make?
Hang on, let me just explain something. How come you didn't see companies like Aldi and Tesco on that list? They're not panicking about food supplies.
Wait a minute. Just because they did not sign a letter does not mean to say they're not panicking or making plans for disaster.
No, but it doesn't mean that they are either.
Oh, for God's
You've got to look different.
So you're dismissing the concerns of Sainsbury's, Asda, Marks and Spencer's, Waitrose, the Co-op, Lidl, McDonald's and KFC in favour of going with companies that haven't signed this message that may, and whose opinion on this you don't know.
I'm not really worried about McDonald's and KFC, to be fair.
Sainsbury's, Asda, Marks and Spencer's, Waitrose, the Co-op and Lidl.
No, Sainsbury's is owned by Asda, isn't it?
I don't believe that's... I don't think that's gone through.
It's not, it's the other way round.
Well, it's
sorry, not owned. They're in negotiations now,
exactly.
aren't they?
Yeah, well, what's that got to do with it?
All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we've still got supermarkets. I don't understand why we all think that the world is going to collapse.
You keep saying I don't understand, Paul, but that's because you haven't read anything about it. I don't understand particle physics, but that doesn't mean to say it's not a thing. That argument is of all of the arguments I keep hearing about Brexit from ardent Brexiteers, that argument is that I don't understand why, therefore it doesn't exist, is about the bottom of the barrel. What are you talking about? I don't understand why there should be any food shortages, therefore there won't be. I mean, can you actually hear yourself? I mean, it's really hard to maintain composure. Am I maintaining composure?
No.
Not really. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult doing this job.
Stop whining.
It is. It's difficult doing this job and maintaining politeness.
Be polite!
I'm trying. I don't understand why, therefore it won't happen. I bet he's still on the phone. No, he's still speaking. Paul, your argument is I don't understand why, therefore it won't happen, isn't it?
No.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
You just said that.
Right. It doesn't make... what I don't understand, and I'm going to say this, I don't understand, right, is how, at the beginning of all this process, everybody said nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. We've got no idea. We're still none the wiser. The situation...
Only if you fail to take on board any information in the past 2.5 years are you none the wiser, Paul.
Well, we haven't had that much information in the last 2.5 years.
Oh, my God. What, you want it delivered to you on a plate?
No, I just want somebody to tell me the truth, and at the moment we're not getting that.
Well, you're not interested. You can't handle the truth. Nobody's interested in the truth anymore. They just want to hear repeated back to them what they have believed, what they already believe. Let's have a call in Ealing. Oh, Anthony.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Anthony.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making your call.
Well, anyway, I don't fit into any of these things. I mean, I voted Leave, but reluctantly, because, you see, I would like to have some kind of European Union or Council of Europe. I think we need it for all sorts of reasons. But we don't need the one we've got, and we don't seem to have any influence in the EU. We've been a member for 40 years.
Oh, come off it. No influence in the EU? What are you talking about?
Well, we're only one of 27 or 28 countries. It doesn't seem to work very well, does it?
What do you mean it doesn't work very well?
Well, it doesn't work like our House of Commons. We don't seem to have any influence.
Well, you keep saying that, but based on what do we not have any influence?
Well, I don't agree with the conditions and rules of our present EU.
Well, name one rule.
Well, one rule is the freedom of for people to move in now as they like. Only because we don't, as I've told you this before, and you don't agree with me, we don't have the house and the house service to cope with the mobility of labour. I'm all for it. I'm all for an EU, but not the one we've got.
Yes,
why can't you get it into your head?
Yeah, Anthony,
why? Okay,
but why can't you get it into your head that most of the people that come here from outside of the country come from outside of the European Union? If you want to reduce the numbers of people coming into the country, then let's start with China and Pakistan and India. Because there's more of them come from there than come from any country within the European Union.
I agree, but I don't vote for these guys. I'd never vote Conservative, and I don't always vote Labour, because I think our politicians are idiots, middle-class idiots who are unaware on all these subjects. And the point is, you can't just say that. The point is, if people have come to work here from the EU, fine, they're not beggars on the street, most of them.
No, well, they're not at all.
They need somewhere to live. I keep telling you this, but you don't get it.
No, you don't get it.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it because you're middle class and you just bought your own bloody place.
Well, I don't own my own bleeping place at all. And whether I'm middle class or not is neither here nor there. You live in Ealing, for crying out loud. How middle class does that sound?
I don't come from Ealing. I come from Croydon, and I've always been a poor working class person. Ealing is full of rich, out of touch middle class people and immigrants.
Well, what do you mean by out of touch? What does that mean? That for a middle class person to be out of touch with whom?
They are out of touch because middle class people have a different life from me. They go to posh restaurants. They have a totally different lifestyle from me, and they're very out of touch because they never meet people like me.
Well, you never meet people like them. Everybody sticks to their own kind.
Well, I do.
Well, then, wait a minute. If you, unless you're sneaking up on them surreptitiously, if you're meeting them, then surely they're meeting you.
But only at political meetings and public meetings like that, and it's quite obvious to me that they don't know what it's like to go without a sector. But they've always been middle class. They've got their own places. They're not bothered about any of the problems which are brought by immigration, whether it's EU or non-EU, because it doesn't touch them.
That's
a lot of your presenters, it doesn't touch them.
That's completely untrue. I don't know what you mean by middle class. I mean, when does somebody become middle class? At what level of income?
They become middle class when they can afford a mortgage in their own place, and they're not bothered by any demand on housing for a start, or even a house. I mean, I could name some people on your station who've got their own place. I know where they live. I know the roads.
Wow.
They can afford private health care, and they can afford everything.
It sounds like a threat now. I know where you live.
Yes, I do know where some of them live.
Well, don't be alarmed.
Some of them I like. I don't dislike them. Yeah. Some of them I like. I don't dislike all of them. But some of them I like.
Okay, but I mean, well, there's some people on this station who would be, they would be in the upper echelons of middle classness.
I can't afford to buy my place. I can't even afford to rent a decent place. I'm at the mercy of the state, and the state is rotten because they didn't build enough housing. I've told you all this before.
Right,
so
but not building enough housing would not benefit by people who are benefiting the economy by their hard work being forced to leave.
Hard. Yes, but you don't help that problem, which you won't recognise, by saying, right, we've got the EU, you can come over.
Again, we're around and around the same old topic, Anthony. Listen to me. More people come here from outside of the EU than within. We're not solving any problems by leaving the EU. And we certainly wouldn't solve any problems by forcing them out and not replacing them with anybody, because there goes the farming business, there goes the manufacturing business, there goes the retail business, there goes the hotels, there goes the service sector, there goes everything that we depend on for our economy. What are we going to do for money?
They need to take up accommodation. I agree with you on everything. I'm very fond of the EU. I used to live in the EU. I'm not that anti-foreign or anti-EU, but I want a better EU where we can control a lot more of the rules.
Okay, well, that ship sailed, Anthony. That ain't going to happen. Wood Green. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Nick. Martin. I'm finding this whole argument, even especially with your last caller, and that the bias that seems to happen. That interview that happened with James O'Brien and Jacob, from me looking at it, James O'Brien came across like a stroppy, upset child in that, where he kept huffing, he kept mocking Jacob's way of speaking, whereas Jacob was being quite, I thought he was a class act in that interview.
Right, well, I didn't hear it, so I can't comment.
You must have. How could you have not?
I must have? Well, if you say so.
You're saying, that is one of the most epic interviews I've heard on the station.
Right. Okay. Well, then I'll use our catch-up service.
But what the guy was referring to was, I think Jacob cited an economist called Patrick Minford.
He is very good. I have no idea.
Well, apparently he's messed up before on certain projections.
Oh, are you kidding me? Weather forecasters always mess up, but that doesn't mean to say that we dismiss everything that they say. Of course, scientists mess up all the time, but overall they get things right.
But that's what Jacob was saying. James was.
But that's just such a specious argument. That's absolutely preposterous. That's like saying, well, because the medical profession got something wrong once, I no longer trust the medical profession. I'll treat myself, if you don't mind.
But that's exactly what James O'Brien was trying to argue. Because
right.
Patrick Minford's messed up before. You can't trust anything that he has to say.
Exactly.
Because what James O'Brien does is he just tries to do these gotcha things. And that's what instead of trying to have an intellectual discussion on that, because
I disagree. Have you heard this? Well, see, I can't comment on the interview that you're talking about because I haven't heard it, but my experience of listening to James O'Brien is that he does deal in facts, which discombobulates his interview. Have you heard this interview with Nigel Farage?
Yeah, I did. But what
he took him apart molecule by molecule.
But he was also still looking for that gotcha, and what James does...
Well, it makes no difference whether he does that or not. I mean, you say that about James O'Brien. Every political interviewer is inclined to do just that.
But the
reason that they do that is because politicians don't answer the question for a living.
But here's the thing: if someone like James likes the politician, he goes easier on him. When he doesn't
this is selective hearing on your part, Martin. You just disagree with James O'Brien's position.
No, I don't. I don't disagree. I just disagree that when he doesn't like someone, he looks for a gotcha, and he doesn't have an intellectual interview.
Well, I don't think that is right. It's too sweeping a statement. Just because you didn't like the one interview and you were on Jacob Rees-Mogg's side as opposed to, well, you just said that you were.
No, I wasn't. I said Jacob came across more fair. He came across more polite. He was more class in the interview.
No, I think that he uses his upper class mean as a weapon against people.
But that's where you see now you're being unfair.
No, I'm not. I'm being accurate. In my opinion, I'm being accurate.
But
just being polite does not necessarily mean that you are answering questions and that you are being honest. Politeness can be used as a weapon against the person that you're talking to.
This is the bias that we have on one side of the argument and the other.
It's not a bias. It's factual.
Yeah, Jacob has plenty of facts as well. They both have facts.
No, we're not talking about the content of what it is they're saying. Now we appear to be talking about the way in which they're saying it, and I am telling you that being overly polite in that clipped upper-class manner that he has is not necessarily an indicator that he is being honest and truthful.
I never said that's an indicator of him being truthful. I'm saying that both sides have facts, but your side of the argument tends to be if you disagree with someone, you try to make out they're stupid. And the James does that same thing. If he disagrees, he tries to make out they're a liar or that they don't have any facts, even when they're telling you facts.
If you are talking to a politician of any stripe, it is quite likely that they are disseminating misinformation. Agreed?
Yeah, with many of them. But I think certain politicians tend to get a following when they do answer questions. And Jacob's one of those where he does seem to answer questions. If we were to talk about Diane Abbott now, who can never answer a question, then I agree with you 100%.
Well, see, that's too sweeping a statement as well. I mean, you're accusing me and James O'Brien of bias, but you are just as guilty when you say that. Diane Abbott has a great long history in politics. At one point, she must have answered a question. You saying that she never answers a question is obviously wrong. Martin, we can go around and around in a tight circle if you like, but let's just agree to disagree. How does that sound? Thatcham. Hello, Andy.
Hiya.
Isn't Thatcham the place with the car alarms?
Yes.
Or is that coincidental?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Well, no, it's correct, yeah. That's right. That's Thatcham.
Well, at least we've learnt one thing on this show.
Excellent. Now, as brilliantly witty and vividly intelligent as you clearly are, Nick, I'd love you to educate me and tell me why. And you are, and I believe you are.
Well, I'm not, but anyway.
You to educate me. No, come on. I'd love you to educate me.
Yes.
And tell me why you're so adamant on remaining against leaving. I'm asking you to educate me now.
Well, it's not a question of education. You just want me to answer the question. Why am I a Ramona?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. I just don't think it's in our best interests to upend the apple cart when things were going on along relatively smoothly. I mean, relatively is a relative term, of course. I mean, we had our ups and downs, much of which was our and America's bankers' personal responsibility. And the entire world is still trying to climb out of the hole. Probably never will, in truth, because our debt continues to increase.
Definitely.
And the next recession is just around the corner. This has to be the worst time in the last 40 years to go through this scenario that we have inflicted upon ourselves.
Okay, fair enough. So you don't see it as being beneficial to the UK at all, just detrimental if we was to leave?
Economically speaking, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
But then I'm not alone. The vast majority of people in possession of knowledge in this regard would agree with me. There's very few people who don't, such that most leavers can name all of them. There's the guy who makes purple vacuum cleaners, who's just opened a factory in Singapore. There's the guy who runs a chemicals company who, by all accounts, has taken up residence in Monaco. And there's a guy who runs a business that presumably won't be affected one way or the other by leaving the EU. In fact, people might actually be encouraged to drown their sorrows in his pubs. I mean, those are the people that you can think of, apart from the politicians, on who are betting their careers on it. But the number of people that think that it would be ruinous are they're never ending.
Okay. Clearly I put my cross in the wrong box. There you go, everyone. You heard it live on air. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andy. Eamon.
Nick, how are you, mate? I'm booked up for 23rd of March. Me and you, mate. We'll wear black.
We'll wear black.
We'll have to wear black because we'll be out by then. Honestly, there'll be 600,000 people walking around Hyde Park where they are. You know what Nick Ferrari called them? He said it looked like a march organised by Waitrose last time. All the lovers will be out, right? All drinking Starbucks, all crying, we'll be gone. The Radka will have caved in, yeah? The German car workers will be on their knees, right? All the Irish farmers, and we'll have a deal. I don't know what you're worried about. We'll have a march every year. We'll go together. It's like a memorial march, the EU.
Okay, well, I'll wear black, you wear black.
Have a nice weekend.
It'll be very, very slimming. We'll look fantastic, Eamon.
Break it on down. It's the fucked up shit. Yeah, my shit's fucked up.